handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from CrossCom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. CrossCom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. CrossCom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at CrossComInc.com. That's CrossComInc.com. CrossCom, building trust for over 20 years.
I love to travel. I've been to Easter Island, the Galapagos, Morocco, India, and the first item that I pack is my balance of nature.
Whether you're taking a vacation, visiting loved ones, or discovering new destinations, traveling is exciting. But let's face it, sometimes it's easy to prioritize everything else over your well-being when you're on the go. Balance of Nature offers a simple solution. Formulated from 31 whole fruit and vegetable ingredients, our fruits and veggie supplements are encapsulated and easily fit into your busy travel itinerary. Between bustling airports and scenic roads, Balance of Nature is the perfect addition to your wanderlust lifestyle. Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Wealth Health Radio.
The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. On the eve of this Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to all our listeners and your families. But on the eve of this Thanksgiving, we are thankful that Kamala and Tim have reemerged after a couple of weeks, I'm sure, of decompressing after the unsurprising loss. They shouldn't have been surprised because we now know what we suspected, that according to their own people, their internal polls never had them up on Trump. It was just a wing and a prayer a bit. If these things break our way, maybe we can pull this out. Regardless, Kamala came out and drunk dialed her supporters with this.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
It's a wonderful channeling of Tony Robbins she did there. I appreciate it. You know, the thing I noticed about that, though, in addition to her questionable sobriety, is the cackle is gone.
Oh, where's the joy? Where's the love? That's what I was thinking. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Who's handling her? Did they just go on Thanksgiving vacation early, Dan? I mean, who in their right mind would let her do what she did?
Who's still on the payroll? A lot of people haven't gotten paid, so I assume nobody's handling her. She better get used to that when she leaves the VP's office in a short period of time. Tim Walz, Field Marshal Tim, Tampon Tim, as he's known to some.
Gesticulation King, yes.
He needs a little bit of a hug, too. The kick in his step is no longer there.
Every place we went, the caring and the sense of joy. I know it's incredibly disappointing now, and look, candidly, it's a bit scary because there's a very different vision that's being put out there. But now,
I don't envy Field Marshal Tim's Thanksgiving dinner with all his family assembled in their Trump gear. So that probably will add to the frightened feeling that he's experiencing. On a more serious note, because I mean, what is there really to say about those two?
The text messages are just, I mean, and the tweets and the memes. Me walking out of Vegas after losing everything at the blackjack table.
That's Jesse Kelly on Kamala. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
There's a lot of good ones out there. So
I have no doubt.
Did she film that in Hawaii, by the way, Dan, or was she back in D.C., or where is this woman?
Don't really care enough to find out. Don't know. I'm looking forward to the gubernatorial race in California between her and Caitlyn Jenner. See which, according to California standards, which woman will win that race if that comes to pass. Like I said, she will be discarded by the left faster than one of those tampons that Tim puts in the boys' rooms in Minnesota. This is somebody who is not going to stay relevant for very much longer. But on a more interesting note, Jen O'Malley Dillon, who is the campaign manager for Biden and then Harris, she was on that podcast with all those Obama veterans talking about the election, doing their postmortem. And this is really something. This is some real spin going on here. And, of course, when they fail, it's a failure of their comm shop. I mean, not the formal comm shop within the campaign, but the informal comm shop, the D.C. press corps. It was the media that did Kamala in, don't you know?
I would say, I mean, look, I am not media hater by any measure, and I think that,
but,
we women don't get far in life
Oh,
talking about
it's
double
so-
standards, so
Mhm.
that's not the point. But
Girlfriend.
I do think a narrative, 107 days, 2 weeks up because of a hurricane, 2 weeks talking about how she didn't do interviews, which, she was doing plenty, but we were doing in our own way. We had to, be the nominee, had to find a running mate and do a rollout. I mean, there was all these things that you kind of want to factor in. But real people heard in some way that we were not going to have interviews, which was both not true and also so counter to any kind of standard that was put on Trump that I think that was a problem. And then on top of that, we would do an interview, and to Stephanie's point, the questions were small and processy and about
dumb.
They
dumb.
were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more or to understand. And I'm not here to say that the whole system was focused on us incorrectly. I'm just saying, again, of the things we need to explore as we move forward as a campaign and as a country, that does a disservice to voters. And, I think back and think we should have signaled more of our strategy early on about podcasts and who we were trying to reach. But we had a limited amount of time to reach the people we were trying to reach, and we were trying to go to them. But being up against a narrative that we weren't doing anything or we were afraid to have interviews is completely bullshit, and also took hold a little bit. And we just gave us another thing we had to fight back for that Trump never had to worry about.
Where do you begin with that, Dan?
Well, there's a few points to be made here. One is the own sort of self-importance of Jen O'Malley Dillon and these political operatives generally. We were doing this and we were doing that. You had the Vice President of the United States as your candidate. You had a dizzying intellect, we were told. You had a brilliant legal mind, we were advised. What is all of this idiosyncratic management of this person in terms of, number one, doing interviews? We were always going to do interviews. This is why it was big news when the first national interview was scheduled. This is somebody who had just come out of the woods and was being introduced to Western media, as opposed to the Vice President of the United States.
Right, and it was 40 days after she, after they replaced Biden with her. That's how long people had to wait to hear from the Queen.
So that's number one, the idiosyncratic management. Number two, the questions when they did get asked, when we allowed them to be asked of Kamala, they were small and processy. I'm sorry. Was she compelled to answer whatever questions that she was asked? She certainly wasn't, because she definitely avoided, as long as she could, answering the question of what she would do differently, answering the question of the borders are, answering Brett Baer's questions like, do you owe Jocelyn Nungari's family an apology? She was very good at dodging those questions. She wasn't very good. She just did it. I mean, you're the Vice President of the United States. You're this powerful, strong woman. You're this intelligent, capable woman. And you can't deal with somebody asking a question. You say, well, I want to talk about the bigger picture, or here's what I want to make sure I get across so that the voters understand my views. No, what actually happened, despite Jen O'Malley Dillon's spin, and this is fine because I'm happy for the left to not learn any of the lessons that should be learned if they want to improve going forward. I'm happy that they don't. But I'm just saying, in terms of living in the real world and correcting the record, what actually happened is she was managed because they were afraid that she couldn't think and speak on her own. They were afraid that she would blow herself up. They were afraid that she couldn't explain her 180s on all of these issues. So they just took them, and she just took them, or they were imposed upon her, and they just pushed them out, and people were supposed to accept that. In point of fact, when those interviews finally started getting going, and then because she did so poorly, she was compelled to do more, then when people did get a sense of who she was and who she wasn't, this is where things went quickly off the joy vibe. The last point is Trump, the Trump standard. Trump does CNN town halls with Klingon Collins, honey. I mean, he talks to everybody, perhaps to his detriment. He is almost indiscriminate with respect to the people in the D.C. press corps that are openly hostile that he nonetheless sits down with. The New York Times editorial board and the full complement of CNN dandies and MSNBC haters. I mean, please. None of what Jen O'Malley Dillon said has any basis in political reality.
It's just all more of string of lies that they told us the whole time during, the whole campaign. But she paid Reverend Al Sharpton's a National Action Network nonprofit $500,000 ahead of that October 20th interview. How is that even legal? I mean, they were just spending money so recklessly. She made $1 billion in less than 100 days, and she's $20 million in debt.
Greg in Schaumburg.
Hey, Dan, to you and your 7 imaginary Dan children, to you, Amy, and your family, on behalf of all of us in the audience, thank you to Salem, because were it not for Salem, probably the lone outlet in the country putting out truth and telling everybody about the vapidness of this candidate, we would have her as president. So thank you very much. We very much appreciate it. You saved the country. You're probably a role in it. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Greg.
Thanks,
appreciate
Greg, and
it.
happy Thanksgiving to you. He's a new grandpa, so congratulations.
Oh, very good. Did he have a gender reveal for his grand
Not
person?
like Justin and Bethany did. By the way, they did that gender reveal with a Build-A-Bear. They took the pregnancy results and they put a girl outfit on a bear and put it in a box, and then they revealed it together.
I wish I wouldn't have been told that.
Well, it's
Bob
a less fatal way to have a gender reveal party.
Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I want to wish all you guys, your listeners, a happy Thanksgiving. And to counter Greg from Schaumburg, you are ill-informed. You're not giving us the truth. So says a couple of the Hollywood types. Maybe you can play the sound bites.
Yeah,
to show how ridiculous they are.
We'll get to Hollywood, but I mean Hollywood, like Jen O'Malley Dillon, as if there's much difference other than they're prettier. I mean, like I said, go ahead, just double down, take Jen Psaki's advice, double down, triple down, quadruple down on men playing women's sports, on everything that Kamala stood for in the run-up to being the nominee, and everything the left still clings to after November 5th. It's fine by me.
Paint sex operations for people in prison and illegals.
Fine by open borders. I mean,
open
all these governors and sanctuary city mayors that are pushing back, and we're going to use taxpayer dollars to provide legal defenses, and we're going to be part of the resistance when it comes to removing people in this country who've committed violent crimes and finding hundreds of thousands of missing children that went missing on Biden's watch. I mean, go ahead, take the counter position. Fine to continue this discussion, and in point of fact, it's important that we do on our side. It's important that we not stop making the arguments and providing the information and driving the understanding. So, yeah, this November 5th was a big day, and now the implementation phase requires stick-to-itiveness at a minimum. All right, coming up at 5:38. I just, speaking of fake news, I want to revisit that data point, Amy, that you provided at the end of yesterday's show about how much Hungry Man dinner costs, and the larger point about like how expensive is Thanksgiving dinner this Thanksgiving, because I think we're getting some fake news again from the D.C. press corps.
Oh, we sure are. We'll do that. But first, let's stop into the newsroom. Nikki Whaley in for Mike Scott. Good morning, Nikki.
Good morning. It's 35 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Americans' confidence in the economy has gone up since the election. A Gallup poll shows that Americans now rank their confidence in the economy as a negative 17 after President-elect Trump's win. That's a 9-point jump since October. It's also the best since it's been a negative 12 reading in August of 2021, when the economy improved after the initial downturn of the pandemic. Former communications director Ronnie Reese was fired from Mayor Johnson's office in October after allegations of sexual harassment and misogyny surfaced. Documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act reveals complaints against Reese began in 2023 with accusations of discriminatory behavior, including sexist remarks. In July, Reese was ordered to undergo sexual harassment training, but was later dismissed for failing to meet professional standards. The mayor's office has declined to comment on the matter. News is a service of Valdecast Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. A check of the roadways coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Dennis Prager explains why Democrats must be upset.
He made inroads in every single group, the most loyal groups to the Democrats, blacks and Jews. Made tremendous inroads. For Hispanics, it's not even an issue. Yeah, but nothing worked. The whole appeal to abortion, and the women voted Republican anyway.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-298-9534. That's 800-298-9534. 800-298-9534.
MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. The famous My Slippers. They haven't been on sale for over a year. Regular price $119.98, now only $59.98. The 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and be sure to use promo code LIBERTY to save on all MyPillow products. That's 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98 or the 6-piece towel sets for just $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free or use promo code LIBERTY at MyPillow.com.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads beginning on the south side, 103rd between Michigan and Martin Luther King Drive. That is currently closed with police activity and an accident in Carroll Stream at Gary and Stark Drive. The road's pretty quiet. Still inbound Edens, no delays. The Kennedy in from O'Hare is wide open to downtown, and the Eisenhower looks good to get from 390 into the post office. Stevenson in 22, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 10 minutes on the inbound Ryan. You're flying on that. Skyway I-57 all clear, and the Bishop Ford looks good. No reason to worry along DuSable Lakeshore Drive either way. The Tri-State is fine. Jane Addams and the Reagan look good, and no troubles to report on 355 or 8094. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average. To get your smile back, check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check if your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Mild day today, cloudy, and the high 47. Clouds, a snow shower late tonight, low 29. Clouds tomorrow morning, breezy and cold. Couple of snow showers. Clouds and sun by the afternoon. The high tomorrow at 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, at the end of the program, Amy, you priced out the Hungry Man dinner, and you said I could get a Hungry Man dinner for how much?
$3.99 at Walmart, $4.99 at Target. But you've heard of shrinkage, right, Dan? It's not the same TV dinner that we grew up with having.
Oh, I thought you were talking about getting out of the pool, right?
No, that's we're keeping it clean here. But because I investigated a little further because I was at the store yesterday at the Jewels, they're $5.99. But it's so tiny. You would have to buy 3 or 4, I think, to be the equivalent of what we had when we were kids.
Right. That was something we learned from Biden's top economic advisor, the Cookie Monster, about shrinkflation, because Big Cookie was really sticking it to the Biden administration and the American people by extension.
Another great Biden moment, yes.
I figured that. By the way, are those Hungry Man dinners? I bet they're not MAHA compliant, are they?
I think there's a lot of processed food in there.
Yeah.
It's not GMO or gluten free, or RFK would have a heart attack if he saw
Yeah, I don't think so. But I saw this from one of those sensational, like, fake news outlets. It's called NBC.
Oh, yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner is historically affordable this year. You can feed a family of 10 for $58.08. That's $5 a head. So is everybody getting a Hungry Man dinner, or is something amiss here? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. I mean, I don't know how much these things cost because I don't shop, and I guess I could find out, but I don't want to. So this is where I need some help.
Well, turkey's up 23% from last year. Stuffing is up 52.2%. Ham is up 61%. Rolls 66%. Pumpkin pie mix 25%. Pie shells 34%. And green beans 21.2%. This is a lie.
What about Swedish meatballs?
I don't know how much. I haven't been to IKEA lately to find out. But when I read this headline too, I thought, are you out of your mind? IKEA, they sell the best Swedish meatballs on the 3rd floor.
The furniture place?
Oh, yeah. They have a great Swedish restaurant on the 3rd
No,
floor.
I don't go there either.
You get the lingonberries. Oh, it's so good.
They have Swedish meatballs at IKEA?
Oh, yeah. Swedish pancakes. They have a whole food court up there.
Really?
It's all Swedish food, and it's really good.
Huh.
You might want to check it out.
So wait, are you making Thanksgiving dinner or
God,
what's?
No.
So what's happened? Where are you going?
I'm going to good old Kirkwood. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to Glendale. Where I've been going there for years. It's my sister's house.
Glendale, Missouri.
Glendale, Missouri. Yes. Right, Glendale, Missouri. And it is not $5.81 a head. It's more like $30 a head. There's going to be 22 people there. My sister's making 2, possibly 3 turkeys. And everybody's pitching in, but it's not $5.81. A family of 4 at McDonald's right now is $60. So how is this even possible? I mean, do they have editors reading this crap that they put out? or are they just trying to make Biden look good for a Thanksgiving gift to him and his administration?
I suppose, although things are much better than when they took in. He had a farewell dinner on Friday night, don't you know, with donors and so forth on the South Lawn. And I don't know if it was more than $5 a head, but here's what he had to say.
I believe we can be proud we're leaving America in a better place today than we came into office 4 years ago. This country is living through the worst pandemic we'd seen in over 100 years. Our economy was in a tailspin. We had just witnessed something we thought we'd never, ever see in America, a violent insurrection on January the 6th.
Can't give it up, can you?
Much more. Come a long way since then.
Yeah, come a long way, baby. That's something only that Joe and Jill and maybe Hunter believes, but that's what they were saying on Friday night, even as his approval rating continues to plummet, as Trump's, in anticipation, continues to improve. Remarkable, actually. But anyway, yeah, so
$5.81. I can't get. I mean,
well, so here's what they did. Here's what they do,
right.
And this is like a great example of the pathological prevarications of the D.C. press corps. They cannot be straight with anything. Estimated $58.08 for a 10-person gathering, or $5.81 a head. Dropped 5% since last year. The lowest level since 2021, adjusted for inflation.
Oh.
Adjusted for inflation. Oh, adjusted for inflation. Well, that's right. We should cut real dollars to real dollars. That's how you know. That's how you are supposed to measure things. Here's what they don't adjust for inflation. Your purchasing power. So they adjust the cost for inflation to give you the misunderstanding that you're in the same place in terms of the purchasing power of your marginal dollar, which of course you're not, because inflation has reduced your purchasing power by all, with respect to all those goods, by all those percentages you just heard Amy tick off. It's always whichever half of the story serves their particular story.
Right,
and I don't mean news, story.
Right.
They're tellers of tales. That's what the D.C. press corps is. Even something like this, even after the fact, they cannot stop. They're addicts.
Right. And this is why people are turning away from mainstream media. I mean, why would you look at that as any mom? And I know the moms and grandmas out there that shop. We laugh at a story like this. It's fraudulent. But it's something so simplistic like that. And they lie about that, and you know that they're lying about the election and how it's going to be a close race. They'll lie about anything.
Well, they lie. They lie about anything, and they lie to everybody to borrow from. They lie to the fish to borrow from Robert Duvall and falling down. It's exactly right. And so, of course, people know what they pay, and they know that I'm serving 10 people, and I just went to the grocery store and I paid a little bit more than $58. Of course, they know this, but then you see stories and like, oh well, gosh, maybe things are better. Well, or maybe I'm confused about what I'm experiencing. I mean, they just, I guess, believe they can create enough doubt among enough people that they'll continue to operate under the spell of these left-wing shamans in D.C. I don't know.
And they didn't even incorporate the cost of drinks. Maybe somebody wants to have a pop or a soda or milk or wine. Everything is more expensive.
Yeah, or a fourth of scotch.
Water.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you having for Thanksgiving dinner?
I got the pre-made meals at my golf club that they make for the lonely guys. I'm having dinner with Steve Martin and Charles Grodin. Well, a cutout now of Charles Grodin because he's passed away. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Table
Hayek,
for one.
Hayek.
And Hayek, yeah, Hayek will be there.
And it's bitter table of one. Your party's ready. That's what that is.
Yeah. Tony, Southside.
Good morning, Amy, Lamb, and Dan. First, before I get to my data point, I'd like to point out Happy Thanksgiving Week. And what I'm thankful for is both of you guys. You are fine people on both sides. Anyway.
Thanks, I think.
Wait, what's the new Tangerine Jesus moniker for Trump now? What's your updated one?
Oh, Marmalade Messiah.
Marmalade Messiah. Yeah, very good. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, they're missing a data point here. So maybe a month ago, it might be right around there. Well, let's just talk about the turkey. if you bought your turkey a month ago and it was frozen, you can get it for about $18, right? If you buy the turkey today and get a thawed one, which you need to have it ready for Thanksgiving, it's going to cost about $30. So they left that point out. That's why they wait till like a week before to say this stuff, to make you think that they're not factoring in the turkey price either. And like Amy said, you're talking about booze. Booze alone, man, it's going to put you over like $200, $300, $400, $500, right?
You don't have to tell
and
me.
The decoration,
Yeah.
yeah. The cigars and all that stuff. All
Exactly.
the things you need at a good Thanksgiving dinner.
Well,
and then
They forgot about butter and eggs. And
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, go ahead, Tony.
I said, and make sure you bring yourself some cigars for your little lonely man's thing.
Oh yeah, well, of course, always at the ready. But hey, I got a question since you're apparently an expert with respect to turkeys. So that's a 10-pound turkey.
That'd be about maybe like a 16 to 18 pounder.
16 to 18-pound turkey is only $18. It was only $18 a month
you had to
ago.
buy it early and
if you get it frozen, yeah. If you get it frozen, sure, yeah. The whole point
nobody
is
likes
that's a scam they play.
Well, you said, and you
off
said,
on the numbers, but
I mean,
ahead.
I'm never going to do this, but I'm just sort of interested, just sort of as an intellectual exercise. So you said you have to buy it thawed now in order for it to be ready for tomorrow.
Right. It takes us. So if you get like an 80-pound turkey, right, and you need to put that in the refrigerator for at least 5 days for it to thaw, right?
Yeah.
Now the other thing you got to keep in mind too is that when I went to the Jewels, like about 3 weeks ago and got myself a frozen butterball for I think I got a 17-pounder. No, I'm sorry, an 18-pounder. It cost me like about maybe 18, maybe $1 a pound.
Well, so but on the can't you do like throw it in one of those deep fryer pressure cooker deals?
Oh no, you don't want to do it with a frozen turkey, bro. You're gonna nuke the world, man. That's
Oh, is that right?
anybody.
No,
Don't put a frozen turkey in a deep fryer. You'll kill everybody in the house.
So that's
or
how
outside the backyard.
So that's how those things happen. I've seen them, but I never, I guess, fully understood or cared why that
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. So,
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Very helpful. Thanks, Tony. And it sounds like you'll have enough. How many people are you serving?
Actually, I'm serving about. I think there's about 10 of us.
Oh, perfect. Then you'll have leftovers.
Yeah, if you have some leftovers for sandwiches.
Yes, sandwiches, absolutely. And then the other thing too, I definitely. I got enough of Woodford Reserve. I got enough of Hendrick's Gin. I got all that stuff for the peeps.
Really?
Are you guys going to talk politics at the dinner table?
Maybe not. I'm kind of tired of it already.
Yeah, exactly. You need to take a break. Let me ask you, Tony, just trying to gauge your level of sophistication to see if we'd ever break bread, if that's a possibility. Because I know
I'd love
you.
to.
I know you would love to. The question is, would I?
Oh my God!
Do you enjoy and can you make a quality Sazerac for after dinner?
No, I do. I have not. That's beyond my knowledge of mixing libations. So.
All right. Well, we're going to have to, if we have dinner, we're going to have a bartender present.
I'm fine with that.
All right. Very good. All right. We'll work out the details. Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it. Very good.
A Sazerac?
I'm learning. Yes. Yes. Look it up. Well, people.
I'm Googling it right now.
People
Common
listening.
spelling?
Yes. Sazerac. ERAC. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Common. Just sound it out. Get hooked on phonics.
Okay.
Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, before I tell you what I'm making for Thanksgiving, I'm also eating solo this year. But I'm saving my tomahawk that I bought from Lester's Bison Farm up in Salem, Illinois. It's about 4 pounds for Christmas. But I spent probably $20. I had the noodles cooked yesterday, the shell noodles, cream of mushroom soup, frozen peas, pearl onions, and just mix it up in a big pot. And it lasts a couple of days. And probably about $20 I spent.
Well, it sounds like a witch's brew. And how many are you serving with this stew?
Just me. But
you're flying solo.
Yeah, and while I'm eating, I'm gonna watch Lefties losing it on YouTube. It's gonna be great.
So you're really not alone.
Yeah, you're thankful for
Larry,
the
thanks
lefty
for
meltdowns.
calling.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Larry.
I get sad when people eat Thanksgiving dinner alone. Can't you find a home or sponsor? Dan,
Again,
Larry, Larry, is that your dad, Larry?
We've had callers before. We've tackled the topic of loneliness before, and I think most of the callers share my sentiment that you say lonely, I say peaceful.
Okay.
You say despondency, I say tranquility.
Okay.
Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, I'm just curious on what your guys' take would be. With Trump coming in, the fuel prices coming down, the cost of the true cost of a product was going to diminish. But because we're so used to paying, say, $6.99 for a dozen eggs, would corporations still keep that price point to keep the profit margins really high?
Thanks for the call, Joe. Well, I mean, the devaluation of our currency is just part of the conversation, isn't it? Regulations, imposition of essentially wage controls, wage floors by government fiat, the competitive labor market, particularly in the service sector, the competition for workers. I mean, so there's a lot of variables that go into it. But no, I wouldn't expect that you'll see prices come down substantially. Certainly not in the short term. But the question becomes: are we really going to see the Doge/deregulation, the shrinkage of government, both in terms of cost as well as in terms of entanglement? Because if you did that and you opened up the market, you made it freer, then you would have price competition. Some businesses sell on price, others sell on quality, and you would see some prices come down. So I think that's an open question.
Got a lot of text message. Dan and Amy, I bought 3 pies for 20 people, $55, just for the pies alone.
Well, pies are expensive. I mean, generally, aren't they? I mean, unless I don't know. I had a choice from Old Florida of pecan, pumpkin, or apple.
Oh, pecan.
No,
you chose pumpkin.
Yeah, pumpkin.
Yeah, because it is Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Cookies, Santa's favorites, cookies, Salerno's, $7 a box. They used to be $2.99. Okay.
Used to be $2.99.
Yep.
Back when William Bradford was the governor of Plymouth.
No, 2 years ago it was $2.99.
Oh.
And eggs are very expensive, by the way. Well, I was told, because they're even expensive at the Walmart in Hammond, because there was a bird flu and they had to kill a bunch of chickens. So that's why.
Well, it's been the case for a while. It's like everywhere I go to a typical greasy spoon breakfast joint, order an omelet, it's $18 everywhere.
Is that crazy?
George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, why don't you spend your Thanksgiving like Kamala, washed in booze?
I will, but the difference between me and Kamala is I'm not going to wash myself in booze and then go on social media and post videos. That's the difference between the two of us. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
This is David Hochberg with an emergency mortgage alert. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. It finally happened. After 30 long and excruciating months, Fed Chair Powell just lowered interest rates 0.5 point, which means credit cards, car and home equity loans will be lower and less expensive. Most importantly, mortgage rates have dropped to their lowest levels since last February. The past 3 years have knocked out over 60% of our competition, who are back in the mall spinning pretzels and folding underpants. Team Hochberg's weathered the storm and is ready to help you, your friends, and family reduce your rate and monthly payments. If your interest rate is 7 or above, call Team Hochberg now. Not when you get home, not tomorrow, now for a complimentary mortgage review. 855-563-2843 or 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. 4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor, or just click on the Give Life banner.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Listen, I'm 97. I'm 86. I'm 70 years old.
I've been a very happy customer.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you.
I think it's wonderful stuff.
I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
It's the best stuff in the world, and it's good stuff.
I'm 81 years old. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I walk every morning and every evening with my dog. Since I have been taking this Balance of Nature, I just can't say enough about it.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, Trump's saber rattling on tariffs already paying dividends, and Tom Homan addresses Border Patrol agents in El Paso. 6:06.
And guess what? We have a new NIH director, and it's exactly who you thought it was going to be, Dan. Do you want to make the announcement, or should I? Or should
Very
we
happy
wait?
about that.
Yes, we'll discuss that on the other side of the news. Today it is going to be mostly cloudy with a high near 44 degrees, but that's going to be warm compared to Thanksgiving Day. It's going to be a high of 30, and then on Friday, a high only in the 20s. It is now 6 a.m., WIND Chicago.
Will it last? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A 60-day ceasefire went into effect this morning, stopping Israel's fight against Hezbollah, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, through a translator, warns of
full military action. If Hezbollah doesn't follow the agreement, we'll attack.
Israel's already decimated Hezbollah, killing its leader and many other senior militants. And as the ceasefire holds,
thousands of Lebanese civilians have begun to return to their homes near the Israeli border. Troops from Israel and the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah have agreed to pull back from that area as part of the U.S. brokered truce. But around 60,000 Israelis forced to evacuate communities in northern Israel have been told it's not yet safe for them to return home.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Now, Israel is still at war in Gaza. President Biden says
now Hamas has a choice to make. Their only way out is to release the hostages, including American citizens, which they hold.
They were kidnapped in the terror attack last year that triggered the war in Gaza and led Hezbollah to join the fight against Israel. The International Criminal Court is alleging crimes against Muslims in Burma, issuing an arrest warrant for Burma's military leader who took over in a coup in 2021. The incoming Trump border czar went to the Texas border, and Tom Homan told National Guard troops in Eagle Pass,
President Trump will secure this border. He's did it before, he's going to do it again. But this time we finish the job.
That includes, Homan says, a mass deportation after record illegal immigration, something some Democratic mayors and governors plan to resist. A lot of people are hitting the road or in long lines at airports the day before Thanksgiving.
AAA says nearly 80 million of us are expected to travel through Monday, with the vast majority going by car. And Mother Nature may not cooperate. Forecasters say winter storms could disrupt travel, complete with a cold front expected to sweep through the Midwest and South before heading east with precipitation and colder temperatures.
Fox's Tanya DJ Powers. Only 19 flights are canceled. America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It's 35 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Progressive lawmakers are urging President Biden to make a move on marijuana legislation before his term comes to an end in January. A group of Democrats wrote a letter calling on the White House to move marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 2 controlled substance. This would classify the drug in a less severe category. Cyber scam artists are busy this time of year all over the country. Crime experts say the holidays are prime time for everything, from fake tech support calls to phishing and cyber threats. They say think before you click suspicious links or emails. Do you know the sender? If not, don't open it. And of course, you already know the adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So we're being told to be cautious about emails advertising incredible deals, prizes, and sweepstakes, urgent delivery notices, fake charities, and threats to pay up or your utilities will be disconnected. With 1.8 million passengers expected at O'Hare and Midway airports this Thanksgiving week, air traffic control staffing remains strained. The Regional Control Center in Aurora reports staffing at just 82%, despite ongoing efforts to train new controllers, which can take up to 3 years. Experts attribute increased air congestion to airlines favoring smaller, more frequent flights. While safety remains high, calls for innovative solutions, including the use of AI, continues to grow. United Airlines recently criticized the FAA, citing controller shortages as a major cause of disruptions. Some road closures will be suspended for Thanksgiving holiday travel. IDOT says there will still be lane closures, though, around Chicagoland, and drivers can still expect delays. News is delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com to schedule your delivery. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
German pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer joined a deadly plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler during World War II. And now his story of risking his life to save others is coming to theaters November 22nd. Win a trip to New York to meet Bonhoeffer scholar Eric Metaxas and see a Broadway show by entering today at 560theanswer.com/NYC. That's 560theanswer.com/NYC. And get your tickets today to see Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin in theaters November 22nd.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. Our nation's recent election has got me thinking, in a hopeful way, about whether we might be relearning the lessons surrounding our first Thanksgiving. Our holiday goes back to the 1620s and the Plymouth Plantation, where the first Thanksgiving came after the settlement abandoned socialism in favor of capitalism. The original charter had a form of communal ownership, requiring equality of income. No surprise, it led to starvation. After 2 years, the colonists learned from their mistake and instituted private ownership. Starvation ended, the colonists began to trade with the natives, and the new abundance was celebrated with a day of Thanksgiving. In our election, Americans rejected Kamala Harris and her woke agenda. We've also made some good steps towards rejecting the broader Marxist-inspired woke agenda. Perhaps we, too, are learning from our mistakes. This Thanksgiving, I'm thankful for some signs of hope for the rebirth of the American ideal, this great experiment grounded in freedom.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
iZervay is proven to slow GA progression.
iZervay gets GA going slower.
iZervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. iZervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. iZervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about iZervay today.
iZervay gets GA going slower.
Visit iZervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
$20 million. No, it's not the national debt. It's the buying spree at Fox Valley Coins. And it's on from now until Thanksgiving. It's really the perfect storm. Gold and silver are at historic levels. Fox Valley Coins has a huge order to fill with one of their national clients. And September through Thanksgiving is always when coin dealers stock up for Christmas sales. They are especially looking for the old collector coins like silver dollars, all 1700s through early 1900s coins. All kinds of gold from broken jewelry to gold bars to the old coins, U.S. and foreign. All kinds of silver from sterling silverware to old coins and bars to Franklin Mint items. They can pay cash or check and make house calls on larger deals prior to Thanksgiving. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. They'll make free, no-obligation offers. Make that 20,000,001 reasons to go to Fox Valley Coins now. They give free in-store offers on your items.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak. Taking a look at the road, still looks good if you're going inbound on the Edens. The Kennedy, 18 minutes. O'Hare into the Jane Byrne interchange. Inbound Eisenhower, not bad. 25, 390 into the post office. Delays forming inbound Stevenson, Ashland into the Ryan at 25, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan is fine going in, but a slight delay in the Express, 33rd to the Stevenson. Skyway and 57 are clear. Bishop Fort slowing inbound Cottage Grove into the Dan Ryan. On the tollways, northbound side of the Tri-State, beware of a stall right near the Kelsack Bridge. A slight delay into that, but other than that, the other tollways are moving along quickly. Traffic is a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of At Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago with over $800 million in sales. You'll get the most value for your home. Call 708-828-0000. Again, 708-828-0000. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now check up your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, mostly cloudy, mild, the high 47. Clouds, a snow shower around late tonight, low 29. Breezy and cold, clouds in the morning, couple of snow showers, partly sunny by the afternoon, the high Thanksgiving Day at 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Might as well get right to it. You don't have to wait till you're inaugurated to send a message to our friends in North America, to our north and to our south, about border security. And Donald Trump isn't waiting. The idea perhaps is to send a shot across the bow now in the hopes that things can be worked out by the time he takes office, so these measures won't be necessary. However, Trump is making good on what he said he would do. This should come as a surprise to no one, including Claudia Sheinbaum and Justin Trudeau. As everyone is aware, this is Trump. As everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before. Right now, a caravan coming from Mexico, composed of thousands of people, seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our currently open border. On January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States in its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long-simmering problem. We hereby demand they use this power, and until such time as they do, it's time for them to pay a very big price!
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line.
He also had a message for the Chinese Communist Party and President Xi. I've had many talks with China about the massive amounts of drugs, in particular fentanyl, being sent into the United States, but to no avail. Representatives of China told me that they would institute their maximum penalty, that of death, for any drug dealers caught doing this, but unfortunately, they have never followed through, and drugs are pouring into our country, mostly through Mexico, at levels never seen before. Until such time as they stop, we will be charging China an additional 10% tariff above any additional tariffs on all of their many products coming into the United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Oh, well, it's very cordial. The saber rattling on tariffs, it's not only should it be anticipated from the campaign, it should be anticipated from what Trump has been saying for, I don't know, the better part of 40 years. And not that I'm necessarily in agreement, certainly with the implementation, the idea of leveraging America's economic power to affect the sort of responsible partnership to interdict illegal immigration and cartel activity. Yes, I'm certainly open-minded on that. But just in terms of Trump, I mean, this was Trump back in 2012, in the election cycle in 2012, speaking, he was on the circuit. Remember, he would do all these big events with other sort of high-profile speakers. And That was part of his shtick. This is him in a speech on economic policy in Las Vegas.
And somebody said, well, what would you do? What can you do? So easy. I drop a 25% tax on China. And I said to somebody that it's really the messenger. The messenger is important. I could have one man say, we're going to tax you 25%. And I could say another, listen, you motherfuckers, we're going to tax you 25%.
The messenger does matter. The messenger does matter. That is a different message, both in terms of tone and believability. Claudia Sheinbaum, the newly minted president of Mexico, responded. I mean, I understand she doesn't want to look weak, but she responded in a letter to Trump in which she said, among other things, 70% of the illegal weapons seized from criminals in Mexico come from your country. We do not produce these weapons, nor do we consume synthetic drugs. Tragically, it is our country that lives are lost. In our country, that lives are lost to violence resulting from meeting the drug demand in yours. President Trump, migration and drug consumption in the United States cannot be addressed through threats or tariffs. What is needed is cooperation and mutual understanding to tackle these significant challenges. For every tariff, there will be a response in kind until we put at risk our shared enterprises. Yes, shared. For instance, among Mexico's main exporters to the United States are GM, Stellantis, and Ford, which arrived in Mexico 80 years ago. Why impose a tariff that would jeopardize them? Such a measure would be unacceptable and would lead to inflation and job losses in both the United States and Mexico. I'm convinced that North America's economic strength lies in maintaining our trade partnership. This allows us to remain competitive against other economic blocs. For this reason, I believe that dialogue is the best path to understanding, peace, and prosperity for our nations, and so on and so forth. She sort of put the onus back on the United States. We're doing our part down here. You're the one with the population that has drug and violent crime, gang problem. And so don't be tariffing us or we'll tariff you. And this will be the mutually assured economic, I wouldn't say destruction, but economic pain. And nobody wants that. So that's Claudia Sheinbaum's response. Like I said, I know she can't just genuflect and look weak, but she's playing with a lot of low cards. First of all, it is laughable to suggest the Mexican government is riding herd over the drug cartels. Well, over the cartels, because they're in drugs, they're in human trafficking. That's laughable. And it's been a punchline for the better part of, well, certainly since DEA ops in the 80s, if not before. So that is not particularly persuasive. And nobody is going to take that statement as credible. Nobody who knows anything. You could just watch the series Narcos, which is rooted in reality, and know better than that. You can watch the recent series Lioness, which is actually getting pretty good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you watching it?
I am watching it. And I'm not conflating dramatization with reality, but I'm just saying it's reflective of a reality that's art imitating life is what these series are.
And so is Landman, and we'll get to that later.
Anyway, so that's one thing. I mean, the other thing is she has all sorts of other worries. First of all, the United States is more important to Mexico than Mexico is to the United States. This is not a defense. This is not a promotion of tariffs because I'm resistant. But that's just a fact. And it's not just in terms of trade. It's also in terms of a topic we've raised before, where Trump could impose punishment for the means to other ends like border security, remittances. The people in this country that send money back to families in Mexico. That's almost, what is it, $500 billion annually? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a huge flow of money into Mexico. He could put a serious crimp in that. And despite her tough talk, Claudia Sheinbaum knows that because what's the response after the letter? The letter where she, had to stand up for herself and her country, and I get that. The response is Claudia Sheinbaum saying, we've got some good news. We got some good news. That caravan that Trump mentioned in his missive, caravans are not reaching the border, says Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum.
Oh.
They're not going to get there. We're happy to report.
Broke that up.
So just, I actually like the idea that knowing that Trump is going to use this tool, knowing that tariff is his favorite word in the English language, as he said during the campaign, I'd rather have him use it now and put Sheinbaum and Trudeau on notice and see if things can get cooled down between now and January 20th by both Canada and Mexico taking the evasive action and signaling a willingness to cooperate with Tom Homan and Kristi Noem and company on these matters of border security. Let's get right to it. And this shows the alacrity with which the Trump administration is going to tackle these issues, consistent with the promises they made. That's good news. And by the way, it's been received by Justin Trudeau, too. He had a call with Trump, and he described that call thusly, did that drama teacher.
Shaking in his boots.
Bonjour tout le monde. I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do. One of the really important things is that we be all pulling together on this.
Mm-hmm. I know that's a lot of political gobbledygook, but that's not a lot of big talk. That's not coming over to the top on Trump, is it? No, because as Trudeau's approval rating and his party's is in the tank, and they're looking at a wipeout in the next election with Pierre Poilievre leading the opposition, because Canadians are struggling just as Americans are, about the same thing in terms of 2/3 to 3/4 think the economy's on the wrong track there. Certainly is for them. The last thing he wants is a trade war with the United States. I don't want a trade war with Canada or Mexico either, but I see the leverage that Trump is using, that America does possess, and better to use it rhetorically now in the hopes of getting substantive compliance with a core deliverable, that being border security, right from the start.
It's his number one priority, put America first, and he's doing that. And also, too, never forget, Justin Trudeau, don't forget, he froze truck drivers' bank accounts because there was protests against COVID. I will never forgive him for that.
Well, he's a socialist. He's a central planner. He's a soft-spoken goon. We know this. And the way you deal with goons is through strength. You think you're a tough guy? Well, it's sort of the line from Gran Torino. Did you ever run into somebody that you shouldn't have messed with? Yeah, that's me. Tony in Downers Grove.
Hey, Dan, Amy, happy Thanksgiving. I love how Claudia Sheinbaum talks about Mexico's sovereignty. Here's the thing. If you talk to people who live in Mexico, the cartel has their hands in every state in Mexico. They control what's going on. So let's just pull the blinders off. We should just be talking to the cartel, never mind the president of Mexico. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanks for the call, Tony. You too. But no, I mean, obviously you respect the head of state and you talk to the government. One of the things that was said during the campaign, do not forget. Yeah, of course we know. And we know that the cartels have corrupted law enforcement in Mexico, the Mexican government. This is well documented. Again, this should surprise no one. But one of the things that was said by Team Trump was, listen, it's not just the threat of tariffs. If you don't act in a constructive way with helping us secure the border and ending the cartel's business through that open border now. Not to mention the death and exploitation that both countries benefit from. Stop being a facilitator for death and exploitation. If you don't do that, then we will document and publicize all of the arrangements that we know of. You think our intel agencies and law enforcement agencies don't have a lot of information about the corruption inside the Mexican government, from the federal to the states and localities, including in law enforcement? We'll lay that all bare. And how would that roil the incoming, or the newly minted president and her administration? I mean, that's the kind of stuff, the transparency. We're going to pull back the curtain on your compromised government. That's a powerful tool, too. Communication, transparency, informing the public. This is playing for keeps right now. And given the crisis that the Biden administration has imposed, the damage that it's done, it should be playing for keeps. And I can appreciate having to be realpolitik about this, even if I disagree with the sort of underlying economic theory behind protectionism. Wanted to also include the message that Tom Homan delivered. I think I said El Paso, but he was in Eagle Pass with Governor Abbott, Texas governor, of course.
That's where that 2-year-old girl was found. I mean, she was with 60 other unaccompanied minors, but she was the youngest of the group and had just a sign with a phone number and a name on it. And not a sign, a letter. Sorry.
And it's an important message that Homan delivered to National Guard and by extension to Border Patrol and ICE and everybody else, that people on the front lines doing the work to end the death and exploitation of other human beings, they have the political backing of this administration. We know you didn't. Now you will.
Well, look, I got an easy job because the last border czar failed miserably, so I can't help but succeed, right? So look, I won't be short. I know we're running late. President Trump, who happens to be the greatest president of my lifetime, is coming back. Unlike this administration, you have your 6. This administration didn't, and we all know it's imperative. The secretary coming in, Kristi Noem, I met with her numerous times. She gets it, she understands it, and she has some great ideas of her own, so I can't wait for her to get confirmed. She got one hell of a team, and Trump and Kristi Noem is going to give you help. Not sue you for doing your job, she's going to give you help. And hopefully we get enough help to you where some of you men and women go home with your families. But you can guarantee it, President Trump will secure this border. He's did it before, he's going to do it again. But this time we finish the job. We're going to run an interior enforcement operation. Of course, the media hates that. How dare you? What a racist thing to do. Then I want to explain that. You can't have millions of people illegally crossing the border, which is a crime, make a claim to asylum, demand the right to claim asylum, demand the right to see a judge, demand due process, and we'll give them that shot. But at the end of that process, when the judge says you must go home, they must go home, because if you don't, due process means nothing. And if the final judges of the decisions of the court aren't carried out, then what the hell are we doing? Shut down immigration court. Those orders don't mean anything anymore. Take the border patrol. Take all you guys off the border because there's no longer consequences. So at the heels of the biggest illegal immigration crisis we've ever seen in this nation, there has to be a massive deportation operation, because 9 out of 10 of these people, based on 10 years of data, well, they'll lose their case, get order removal. If we don't remove them, what the hell are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Tom Homan always does a nice job of blending practicality with moral clarity. It's really refreshing, isn't it? Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Hey, Dan, are you there? I was at the Seraphim party yesterday, and a lot of people asking where you were, so I give the standard answer. He's in the washroom.
Mm-hmm.
But this one guy, I think his name is Justin or Jacob, he said, no, I take a picture right now and send it to Prof. And I said, well, who are you? He's like, well, I hosted him at the Merit Club in Libertyville, so he knows who I am. So
That's
did you
Jason.
get that picture?
Yeah, I know who he is. He did not host me at the Merit Club, but yes, I know who he is. Yes.
Because I was trying to question him more, and he ran away. I'm like, kind of shady, but I'll send the picture.
Oh, man, somebody shady at the Seraphim Christmas party? What? Shocking.
All right, this holiday season, don't forget your Balance of Nature supplements, a proud supporter of this radio station for 10 years. Remember, gingerbread cookies, ice cream, they don't provide the fruits and vegetables your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. That's why I've been supplementing with Balance of Nature for nearly a decade. It's so easy to open the individual capsules and dust them over a salad or mix them into a juice drink or warm water. That's how I do it. And thousands of AM 560 listeners love their Balance of Nature, and you will too. 6 capsules a day provides your body, heart, and mind several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You'll love it. Your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. So celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Order your fruits and veggies today. Call 800-246-8751 and use coupon code Chicago to save 50% off your first set and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. Half off. If you've ever thought about using Balance of Nature, now is the time. Half off. Use coupon code Chicago or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them, but why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, ROLLANDS, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust, just like I do.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, it's the Thanksgiving miracle. How about this? The Washington football team, the managing partner of the Commanders, announced that the censorship of the Redskin logo is over. The Redskins logo has been uncensored.
Wait, Christmas comes early.
I mean, they're still going to be called the Commanders, but it's in terms of, just in terms of being able to, have this on official NFL gear and so forth, throwback jerseys, whatnot. I don't know. But, yes, agree to uncancel the Redskins, the iconic Blackfoot Chief logo. Uncancel it. A Thanksgiving Day miracle.
Bring back Chief Alinowick then.
There you go.
Maybe he'll be next. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
6:36, we'll talk about that Israeli-Hezbollah ceasefire with Leo Leibowitz tablet at 6:36.
Now into the newsroom we go. Nikki Whaley in for Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 35 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Thanksgiving's tomorrow and the lines are getting longer.
There will be record-breaking number of travelers at airports nationwide.
Patty Mancha with the TSA says if you're flying today or Friday, you need to get there at least 3 hours early. The reason why, she says that holidays bring out many inexperienced travelers. They're not used to security, so it's going to take them much longer. The city of Chicago faces a lawsuit over a fatal crash involving an off-duty police officer accused of drunk driving while attending a city-approved holiday party. The crash occurred in December of 2022 outside of the House of Blues that killed 56-year-old Maria Schwab and injured another woman. Officer Tangi Brown is charged with aggravated DUI and reckless homicide, with prosecutors stating her blood alcohol level was well above the legal limit. The lawsuit also names the bar under the Illinois Dram Shop Act for over-serving her. News is a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee's their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of the roadways coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka is still living on the high.
It still doesn't sink in. I catch myself several times a day just wanting to shout the words, he won. I don't think it's sunk in quite yet because so many people work so very, very hard. How do we know that? Because she lost over 10 million votes by comparison to Joe Biden.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I heard about it for 3 months and I kept wanting to do it and I just didn't. And I finally said, I'm going to do it. I just feel overall better, but I've continued to take it.
Oh, I really like them. I feel good while I'm on them, and they're easy to take, and they seem to be working well.
I love it. I love the product, and not only the product, the people that work for them, too, are really nice. That's another plus. It's the best product on the market.
I think it's a good product, so that's the reason I'll continue to take it.
It's a wonderful product. I'm trying to get as many people as I can to take it.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Better is around the corner in 2025. Feeling better, of course, getting rid of joint pain for once and for all. And QC Kinetics is where it's at. Their patients are able to walk up and down the stairs, sit and get back up. They can finally sleep. Wouldn't it be great to feel normal again? And that could be you. So call QC Kinetics now, today. Say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. Saturday appointments available, no downtime. Just imagine a new year without achy joints. QC Kinetics uses the healing properties of your own body to attack the root cause of your pain. If you've been told surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. Live your best life in 2025. Get started now. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the road starting on the north side. Pine Grove shut down between Diversey and Wellington with police activity. On the inbound Edens, you're still in good shape. The Kennedy, 22 minutes. O'Hare into downtown. On the Eisenhower, you're moving quickly, 390 into the post office, but northbound I-55, slowing down right near 53 due to a crash. Stevenson in 25, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 13 minutes going in on the Dan Ryan Titan Express 33rd to the Stevenson. Delays crawling on the Tri-State northbound right near the Reagan to the Eisenhower. It is slowing actually on the ramp, but the good news is the other tollways are not showing any problems. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on everything you need to celebrate the holidays, all for $15 and under. Get low prices every day on unique finds before they're gone. In-store only at Macy's Backstage today. Find a location near you at macysbackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, mostly cloudy, mild, the high 47. Clouds, a snow shower around late tonight, low 29. Breezy and cold clouds in the morning, couple of snow showers, partly sunny by the afternoon, the high Thanksgiving Day at 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I'm very intrigued by the announcement of the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah yesterday, in part because two of my favorite thought leaders on Middle East policy seem to be in disagreement. We're going to talk to Leo Leibowitz, editor-at-large of Tablet Magazine, tabletmag.com, momentarily. But first, because there's disagreement, Jonathan Tobin, another friend of the show who we've spoken with quite a bit, Jewish News Syndicate, he writes about the ceasefire deal. There are many good reasons to worry that the impending ceasefire with Hezbollah terrorists that Israel has chosen to accept is a bad bargain. A lot can go wrong, no assurances that the quieter promises will last. And yet, the deal that Netanyahu has agreed to is probably the best Israel can get under the circumstances. Even the critics of the decision must acknowledge that the Jewish state has not come away from the negotiations empty-handed, has achieved, in fact, some real gains. After a year of suffering incessant attacks on its northern communities that began on October 8th, Israel has finally forced Hezbollah and Iran to retreat from their determination to keep firing as long as Hamas is fighting in Gaza. This isolation of Hamas is a victory for the Jewish state. That's one. Two, so too, writes Tobin, is the fact that the last 2 months of Israeli attacks on Hezbollah have significantly degraded their capacity to inflict harm on the region. That's a defeat for Iran, which had hoped that the seven-front war in Israel it had incited could go on indefinitely. Instead, they are the ones who have been diminished by military setbacks and vast losses inflicted on a group whose main purpose is to serve as a deterrent to attacks on Iran. There's no question that Bibi decapitated the leadership of Hezbollah. And third, writes Tobin, equally important, this is a moment to consider that the setbacks dealt Hezbollah and Iran, coupled with the destruction of Hamas's military capabilities, were only made possible by the determination and the ability of one man to stand up to U.S. pressure to abandon the fight for Israel's security many months ago. It's difficult to imagine anyone other than Netanyahu could have stood his ground against Washington's pleadings and threats and have gone on to achieve an outcome that leaves Israel's enemies far weaker than they were when the current conflict began almost 14 months ago. You know, I've compared Bibi's prosecution of this campaign to Churchill, but our friend Leo Leibowitz suggests that this deal with Hezbollah may be his Neville Chamberlain moment instead. Leo Leibowitz, editor-at-large, Tablet Magazine, tabletmag.com, joins us now. Leo, thanks. Oh, by the way, you should also check out his podcast. Rootless is the name of Leo Leibowitz's podcast. Leo, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always my pleasure to be the voice of doom and gloom. Good
yes,
morning.
yes. Well, somebody's got to do it. So, I saw some of your tweets. I was a bit surprised, but I wasn't surprised that they were very clear in terms of your position, but that you were so down on this deal. Respond to Jonathan Tobin's contentions that there's some real victories here, if you would.
With pleasure. Look, Jonathan Tobin, who's a friend and a wise man, is correct. There are indeed some victories here. You will notice, however, by your very, very clear summary of Jonathan's positions, that all these victories are in the past. Correct. Israel did stand its ground. Correct. It did fight a very successful war against Hezbollah. Correct. It did decapitate its leadership and isolate Hamas and expose the Iranian, genocidal regime as exactly what it is, a paper tiger. The question is what happens next? And what happens next, courtesy of this disastrous deal, is simple. First of all, an infusion of a minimum of another $400 million of taxpayers' money to basically Hezbollah, which, if you consider the fact that we already gave them about $800 million, is a $1 billion investment and more in one of the world's most fierce terrorist organizations to give them the opportunity to rebuild. Second of all, it continues the Barack Obama disastrous legacy of seeing the Middle East as a joint effort for Washington and Tehran to sort of rebuild the twin spheres of influence. We are now basically going to continue this mechanism by which, according to this new deal, the United States becomes the ultimate arbiter of any kind of conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Now, if that sounds familiar, that brings us right back to 2006. After the first Lebanon war, we signed another one of those cockamamie deals. And under that silly deal, the idea was, well, guys, every time there's a conflict, the international community and the United States and all these good, well-meaning partners will step right in and help. Surprise, surprise, that didn't happen then.
Mm-hmm.
Not happening now. If anyone still believes the quote-unquote international community after that ridiculous ICC persecution is a real thing, they have another thing coming. But furthermore, I want to stress this. What the deal has done is now set up a mechanism in which the entirety of U.S. operations in the region would be kind of geared and towards adjudicating conflicts between Israel and Hezbollah. That is not healthy for Israel, and more importantly, it's not healthy for the U.S. And I'm not even sure that this is something the incoming administration would have the wherewithal to shake off.
So I mean, I think those are salient points, particularly this idea of the international community as some arbiter and having to and the United States as as Israel's perpetual chaperone. I mean, because what the if Hezbollah violates the terms, or Iran through Hezbollah violates the terms, then you're going to have the same camps saying the same things. I mean, it doesn't change the base of support that frankly that radical Islamists have, including in the West. So I definitely take what you're saying. But so what would you have advised Bibi to do? I mean, because he doesn't want to be seen, obviously, as somebody who is not willing to negotiate a peace deal either.
Look, I think Bibi's path, and this is why I'm so flustered by what he did. Bibi literally got the football to the 1 yard line and then decided to stop, look at the referee, and say, okay, well, let's negotiate what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
I would have advocated, going towards the end zone. Bibi is about 7.5 weeks away from an incoming administration that is imminently more friendly and more sane and more kind of clear-minded about these things. Israel, to be clear, is facing immense pressure from the Biden administration. The Biden administration has been slow walking not just weapons and munitions that Israel needs desperately, but also things like, bulldozers and other kind of equipment that Israel also sort of, very direly needs. But I think there's, and look, I don't know the extent of the pressure, nor do I know what kind of UN disaster the Biden administration has been threatening Israel with. Very likely some kind of sanctions come December. All that is not information any of us are privy to. However, I'm thinking if Israel's already doing quite well in the war and already has an incoming administration that is really just around the corner, say, okay, you know what, look, we achieved all these great goals that Jonathan Tobin correctly said we achieved. We are we're announcing right now the unilateral end of operations. We're withdrawing, and we look forward to negotiating a peace deal with the next administration coming in January 20th. That, to me, would have been a much kind of saner deal that doesn't give the permanent Obama machine a victory for no real reason.
Well, Biden machine. I mean, so you think that this was done before to give a victory to President Biden before he left office?
Well, whether or not that was the plan, that is certainly the outcome. And again, I chose my words carefully. President Biden may be the current executor of this agenda, but this is precisely the plan that Barack Obama set in office and continued to sort of implement throughout his, pressure on the Biden or influence on the Biden administration would have been the same had we had, God forbid, a Harris administration. This is basically buying or BB buying these terms and conditions of negotiation, buying the idea that rather than Israel having the right to defend itself unilaterally whenever it is attacked like every other sovereign nation, it is now basically a client state of the kind of American Ottoman Empire, as my friend Tony Badran called it, and that is bad. It's bad for Israel, but again, moreover, it's bad for America. Why are we investing money and time, setting up huge bureaucracies, adjudicating conflicts in Lebanon? It makes no sense unless you want to prop up Iran, as Obama does.
Well, I mean, so when you're talking about Trump and his national security team coming in, Rubio and company, what would you like to see from them in this region other than, doing things domestically that have geopolitical impacts like energy production in America that defunds Iran and Russia by extension?
Well, first of all, those are incredibly, incredibly important. Immigration, of course, is another big one. But I would like to see a return to a more sane American foreign policy in which any kind of ideas of quote-unquote nation building are abandoned. And instead, we look kind of clearly at our allies and say, look, it is within our interest to help you do whatever you can to meet your challenges, which are also our challenges. And therefore, we wish to not be involved. We wish to spend no American dollars and obviously lose no American lives in these conflicts, but we wish to stand by you as you do whatever it takes to mitigate these risks and crush these enemies. But as we know, the kind of infinite, intricate mechanism of American bureaucracy is a very large, real thing. And I'm very, very worried that an administration coming in about 2 months is going to say, look, man, they signed the deal. They solved it. It's no longer a problem. We have some general running the show, adjudicating this process, whatever. We're not going to touch it right now. This is why I fear this legacy would be so bad. And if I'm Hezbollah, completely destroyed and in need of time, years and years and years to rebuild, buying a few years of quiet is precisely the lifeline that I was waiting for, which is why you've seen celebrations in Beirut and lamentations in Israel this past day.
That's a good observation. I wanted to get your reaction to something else, too. Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, in their operation in this country, particularly to platform some of the anti-Semitism we've seen on college campuses. There's a defamation suit filed by a former employee of CARE that was a response to a lawsuit that CARE filed against her, accusing her of defamation by implying that CARE is funded by foreign governments and terrorist organizations. As part of that defamation claim by the former employee, a U.S. magistrate judge has now ruled that CARE's donors and funding sources, potentially including foreign ones, and any assets owned by the group are all within the scope of permissible discovery as part of the former chapter leader's lawsuit against CARE. And I wonder how optimistic you are about the revelations that may come in that case to provide some transparency on who exactly backs CARE and what that may mean for responsibility when it comes to pushing anti-Semitism in this country.
I'm extremely optimistic, and here's why. Look, just in April, the National Intelligence Director, Avril Haines, came out and said, we have real concrete information that a lot of this anti-Semitic activities you're seeing on college campuses and in city squares is actually funded and organized by Iran. Like in a normal sovereign nation, if the national intelligence director comes out and says, we have information that one of our number one global foes is funding terrorism against our citizens, people would actually spring to action. They would start investigating how that money flowed, through which organizations. They would start defunding and deporting people. They would make arrests. They would actually show that national security is something that they take seriously. The previous administration, the outgoing administration, clearly does not believe that. I think the Trump administration absolutely does. And lawsuits like the one you mentioned, like the CARE lawsuit, I think is something that we're going to see more and more and more of. We're going to see a lot of these shadowy organizations that have been evading justice for years. Look, we've had a kind of a real seminal case in the United States. David Boehm, a 16-year-old, was one of the first Americans murdered by Hamas. This is, decades ago. His parents successfully sued a bunch of non-government organizations, proving in court that they were indeed aiding and abetting and funding, Hamas and other terrorist organizations. They were awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in a judgment. And then the same organizations disbanded the same day and rebanded under slightly different acronyms and names of the same exact people holding the same exact positions. There's now another lawsuit to bring them to justice. But surprise, surprise, these are all the people behind all the mayhem you're seeing on campuses, and CARE is part of that, unruly coalition too. I think that party is really going to end come January 20th.
Leo Leibovitz, editor-at-large for Tablet, tabletmag.com, also host of the new podcast, Rootless. Leo, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560, The Answer.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust.
He's a 30-year licensed broker
who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. 630-674-1551.
All right. Once again, our Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and we help to provide life-saving food, really life-saving food, to children in Latin America and the Caribbean. During this season of economic decline, unemployment, rising food costs, millions of children and their families are suffering, and they simply don't know where their next meal will come from. This can lead to sickness, disease, and ultimately starvation.
For this campaign, we rely on our business donor leaders to provide said leadership. So one of the ways that we meet our goals is with our business benefactor program that we've done in the past. Many businesses have participated every year, and we do appreciate that. Here's how it works. You're a business owner. You make the marketing decisions for a business. The business benefactor program provides 40 one-minute commercials to air on our station Monday through Friday, prime broadcast hours between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. in exchange for your $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. So again, $2,500. You get 40 one-minute commercials that air in prime broadcast hours. It's the best advertising deal in Chicago radio, and at the same time, you'd be providing life-saving food for more than 50 children in Latin America and the Caribbean in the process. To become a business benefactor, you just call our general sales manager. Her name is Ann Jeanette, and her phone number is 847-472-8951. Again, the business benefactor program, contact Ann Jeanette at 847-472-8951.
And we want to thank some of our business benefactors who have already signed up. Chicagoland Midwest Performance Cars, freedomchamber.net, the National Shrine of St. Francis Xavier Cabrini, and Immune Enhancement, the makers of Virogo. So thank you so much for your generosity. help these companies out if you can to support them. But again, the number to call is Anjanette. That's her name. And the number is 847-472-8951. 847-472-8951. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
Are your file cabinets stuffed with work orders, invoices, bills of lading, medical records, and or compliance papers? There's a solution to clear the clutter by converting your documents into accessible digital form with the help of IDT. They can scan your documents for you or provide you with the technology to transform your workspace with easy and innovative IoT smart connected scanning technology. IoT smart connected scanning not only captures your information, it connects your documents directly to your existing digital systems, ensuring seamless integration and immediate access. Plus, it works with your existing Microsoft Office 365 technology. Convert those physical files into secure, searchable, easy-to-find digital formats. Goodbye, paper chaos. Hello, streamlined, secure digital environment. Visit ready4idt.com. That's ready, the number 4idt.com. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Trump adds another reinforcement to the public health portion of his administration. We'll start there with Alex Berenson at 7:07.
It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The rockets and the airstrikes have stopped. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Israel and Hezbollah are in day one of a 2-month ceasefire that took effect this morning in Lebanon.
There are reasons for both sides to accept this ceasefire. Firstly, Hezbollah has been decimated by the Israelis over the last 14 months. Their entire leadership, including the head Nasrallah, has been killed. You remember those pages exploding that wounded thousands of them. And Iran, who finance and back them, they're also on the back foot, and they have supported this as well. On the Israeli side, their original aim for attacking Hezbollah was to get the 60,000 displaced Israelis back home, and this ceasefire allows that.
Fox's Benjamin Hall, the U.S. helped broker this ceasefire, and President Biden's already eyeing another.
Just as the Lebanese people deserve a future of security and prosperity, so do the people of Gaza. They, too, deserve an end to the fighting.
And today, the president posted on X the U.S. will be working with Israel and Turkey and Egypt and others to try to work out a ceasefire deal with Hamas to free hostages taken in the terror attack last year that triggered the war. The International Criminal Court, which controversially issued an arrest warrant for Israel's prime minister, is out with another one today.
At the center of this case are alleged crimes against Burma's Rohingya Muslim minority dating back to 2017. The International Criminal Court's chief prosecutors asked judges to issue an arrest warrant for Senior General Min Aung Hlaing. He seized power in a coup in 2021, ousting elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. President-elect Trump is going to bring a key advisor back for his second administration. Kevin Hassett will head the National Economic Council. Jamison Greer is the Trump pick to be U.S. Trade Representative.
And joining the healthcare team, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. He was nominated to lead the National Institutes of Health. He had been a critic of COVID-era shutdowns.
That's Fox's Doug Luzader. A lot of Americans traveling the day before Thanksgiving, but there are only 20 flights canceled. America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It's 36 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Top officials from Mexico and Canada say that hefty tariffs proposed by President-elect Trump would harm all the economies involved. Trump vowed on Monday to impose 25% tariffs on the U.S.'s North America trade partners on his first day in office. The president of Mexico, in a press conference yesterday, warned that one tariff will follow another until both countries put common business at risk. A top official with the Bank of Canada said that any move by Trump to deliver on his promise would, quote, clearly have an impact on both economies. An animal rights extremist is thought to be behind two bombings in Northern California over 2 decades ago that has been captured in Wales. The UK National Crime Agency says Welsh police captured 46-year-old Daniel Andreas Sandiego this week. He's accused of setting off 2 homemade pipe bombs at a biotech company and another bomb strapped with nails at a nutrition company. A 24-year-old man was stabbed in the chest outside of a Wendy's in the 8600 block of Stony Island Avenue in Avalon Park Monday night. The victim was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Police say the suspect fled the scene and no arrests have been made. Investigators were seen examining the area inside and outside of the restaurant. Jose Rodriguez faces 1 felony count of possession of child porn after allegedly possessing multiple computer files on October 17th. He was arrested yesterday by the Chicago Police Department's Internal Crimes Against Children Task Force and Special Investigations Unit. A detention hearing is scheduled for today. News is a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee's their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawkberg.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2025? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest presented by Team Hawkberg. Enter once per day, every day between now and December 20th, and you could have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm Rick. I'm in the best shape of my life. I play a lot of golf, I work out, and ride my bike. I'm 63 and I can still almost hit a golf ball 300 yards. I mean, when I'm in the gym, I can do 90-pound dumbbell. That's what I did when I was young. As long as I'm living, I'll keep taking my Balance of Nature because it makes a big difference.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product. And you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
iZervay is proven to slow GA progression.
iZervay gets GA going slower.
iZervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. iZervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. iZervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about iZervay today.
iZervay gets GA going slower.
Visit iZervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads on the north side. Pine Grove still shut down between Diversey and Wellington with police activity. Slow conditions on the Indiana Toll Road eastbound between Indianapolis and Klein Avenue. Inbound Edens looks good. The Kennedy, 38 minutes, and from O'Hare to downtown. Eisenhower, it's a half hour. 390 into the post office. Northbound I-55 traffic slows Veterans Parkway to Joliet Road from an earlier crash. On the inbound Stevenson, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 18 minutes, 95th into downtown. Skyway, I-57, and the Bishop Ford all clear. DuSable Lakeshore Drive actually looks good. Tri-State North stop and go right near the break-in, and the other tollways are fine. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over if you have medical PPO insurance. Find out how you can save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, mostly cloudy, mild, a high 47. Clouds, a snow shower around late tonight, low 29. Breezy and cold clouds in the morning, couple of snow showers, partly sunny by the afternoon, the high Thanksgiving Day at 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We finally got Trump to announce a expected and important addition to his public health team. And that's our friend Dr. Jay Bhattacharya from Stanford.
Yay.
Dr. Jay was a party to that Murthy v. Missouri suit on social media censorship, who was targeted along with other scientists, doctors like Kaldorf and Makari and Gupta, Sunetra Gupta, and many others for daring to question COVID orthodoxy. This is just refreshing the recollection here. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya testifying before a committee on COVID policies, along with his colleague and his colleague again, Dr. Marty Makari, who is going to be the FDA commissioner.
Public health bureaucrats operate more like dictators than scientists during the pandemic, sealing themselves off from credible outside criticism. Consider, for instance, the treatment of scientific dissidents outside the government who contradicted public health dogma. In the earliest days of the pandemic, public health bureaucrats organized a cover-up of the hypothesis that COVID emerged as a result of a laboratory leak, calling scientists who proposed the idea conspiracy theorists. Only recently have official bodies started to admit the hypothesis is plausible and maybe even true, and certainly not a conspiracy. Where do the scientists whose careers were destroyed advancing the idea go to get their reputations back? When Martin Kulldorff of Harvard University here today, Sunetra Gupta, a professor at Oxford University, and I proposed a focused protection alternative, not a herd immunity alternative, to lockdowns in October 2020. Then NIH director Francis Collins labeled the three of us fringe epidemiologists and engaged a media campaign to take down our proposal, to which tens of thousands of doctors...
And now he's the NIH director, or he's going to be. That is a wonderful bit of boomerang that Trump has affected, isn't it?
And remember, he was co-author of the Great Barrington Declaration as well. So
that's right. I mean, again, we talked about this ad nauseum during the pandemic and these COVIDian, heavy-handed COVIDian policies. Stanford, Harvard, Oxford represented. We could go on. Yale, Cleveland Clinic, some of the best research institutions, best hospitals, most accomplished medical professionals. And if you didn't just fall in line with Collins and Fauci and Birx, then
you were silenced.
You were targeted. Even if you weren't completely silenced, you were certainly targeted, and there was a great effort undertaken to marginalize you. He's right about that. This was a fun exchange, too. These guys could be fun together, Dr. J and Dr. Marty, Bhattacharya and Makary, talking about, in a little podcast, talking about Fauci and Walensky. There's another one. Don't forget about Rochelle Walensky, CDC director. And, you just want, obviously there's going to be different mission foci here, and there's going to be a lot to do. But just given the opportunity, even if it's not them doing it directly, but unearthing information that the Rand Pauls and the Ron Johnsons can use for that long overdue reckoning, even if it's just publicly and professionally, for the Faucis and the Birxes and the Collins. Take a listen to these two.
I think the question is, why is the Biden administration still using its leverage to protect Dr. Fauci and his reputation? Why is that a major goal of the Biden administration's policies?
He's still the golden boy, Dr. Fauci, of so many communities in the United States that have sworn a political allegiance to maintain political apartheid in America, so that scientists who believe in a lab leak are separate. They're separate but equal, maybe not even separate but equal, but they do not go to the same panels. They are not invited to the same editorial boards. They don't have the same rights in publishing and in science. It's I don't know if you saw this. This is delicious. Did you guys see this? Rochelle Walensky just last week receives the Anthony B. Fauci Courage and Leadership Award from the Infectious Diseases Society of America.
I'm frankly stunned. I mean, I guess suppose it does take some measure of courage to say things that are entirely contrary to reality confidently, and know that you're going to somehow fool half the country into believing that you're right. And Rochelle Walensky, I think, fully deserves an award. I mean, in some sense, it's quite fitting that she get an award with his name on it.
The things that are fitting. It's also quite fitting that Makary and Bhattacharya, along with Weldon, CDC, and RFK Jr. over the top at HHS, are the public health.
Well, thank you so much for having me on this great morning.
How do you react to this team that Trump has assembled, at least in terms of nominees?
Well, I mean, Jay's great. He's we've had many conversations about, during COVID, about the COVID vaccine. He's smart. He's really humble. He's really thoughtful. He's skeptical. He's willing to, to consider everybody's views. He's
the anti-Fauci. Yeah.
He doesn't have a big ego. He is the anti-Fauci. And, it's funny because sometimes people would say to me during COVID, you should be more like Jay. You should, you're so loud and obnoxious. Why don't you make your points the way Jay does? And I would say, well, look, they went after him too. So it really wasn't about being loud and obnoxious. It was just about saying things that they didn't like. It's an interesting thing because Jay is obviously an elite scientist too, right? And so is Dr. Makary. These are hard jobs. They need smart people, and sometimes those people, are going to come from really fancy institutions, and we need to be okay with that. I think everyone is okay with that in the case of Jay and Makary. RFK is a more complicated question. He clearly wants to knock things around, and that's good. Some of his specific views, I don't agree with. I don't think it's helpful to say that HIV might not cause AIDS. Okay, HIV causes AIDS. I'm not sure why he even entertains that notion. And if you want to talk about the bad things that science has done in the last, let's say, 10 years, you should talk about some of the good things that have happened in the last 30 or 40 years. And certainly the finding of a cure for HIV, saving people from AIDS, which was a deadly disease, which I'm old enough to remember, which you are old enough to remember. It was a death sentence in the 1980s and early 1990s. And we shouldn't dismiss the what science did for us, what the NIH did for us, and I think that's a bit dangerous. But as for Jay and as for Martin McCarty, I have nothing but good things to say.
Yeah, the RFK Jr. thing is complicated on a range of matters. One is some of his positions on issues, including outside of public health, like environmental issues. So the need for him to stay in his lane. Number two is, he's now another one of these nominees who's subject to sexual harassment allegations. Now, again, they're 20 years old, but a former babysitter / intern, who's willing to testify before the Senate committee. So this could become a real spectacle. So, he's got I'm not saying he's not going to get confirmed or that Trump won't back him the way that he backed Kavanaugh when they came for Kavanaugh, but it does present some complications.
Yes, I agree with that. And, is there somebody who Trump could have nominated who would have been like RFK but without the baggage? I'm not actually sure that there is. I mean, RFK is a pretty unique figure, and he clearly speaks to a lot of people who are very frustrated and upset with the scientific establishment. And so, I do think in many ways it's even more important to have people underneath him who can maybe steer those impulses in good ways. And that's what Jay should do. I don't know the new CDC director. I don't know this congressman, but hopefully he'll do that too. And certainly Marty will do that.
And no matter who gets it, though, the HHS secretary, don't you want to have a full investigation into the impacts of COVID mRNA vaccines? We have a right to know about that.
Yeah, in my Substack, I said, a couple of days ago, here are 10 things that RFK Jr. can do, which would be great, unequivocally, would put sort of big pharma on its back foot, would put, the scientific establishment on its back foot in an important way, from investigating, figuring out how to rein in prescription drug advertising a little bit or a lot, to instituting a rule that nobody can leave the FDA or the CDC and go work for a drug company within 3 years. I mean, you had Scott Gottlieb, who Trump appointed at the FDA to run the FDA, who quit the FDA in 2019, and 90 days later was on the board of Pfizer. Okay, that should never happen again. And he can, if RFK and Trump, put rules through to make sure that doesn't happen again, all by itself, that would be a good thing. So I haven't taken a position on RFK at HHS, but if channel his impulses in a good way, that would be great.
Well, and I think one of the recommendations you made, too, in that Substack piece you were referencing, is that the release of documents related to the lab leak, related to the Fauci relationship with Dr. Ralph Baric, and I would suggest a long list of other people, too. But this is consistent with, frankly, what RFK Jr. has said generally in the interest of transparency, and what the Trump administration, what Trump, through his cabinet pick, seems to be signaling, that, this information that is under dubious cover, over classification of documents and so forth. This stuff needs to come out. There needs to be at least a full airing if we're going to even contemplate the possibility of holding some people responsible for committing bad acts and distinguishing between incompetence and bad acts, incompetence and maliciousness.
We'd all love to know who's protecting Ralph Baric, right? Is it the CIA? Is it the DIA, right? The idea that Ralph Baric has not sort of become the focus of attention, of investigation, is crazy. He is more responsible than any other American for the collaboration with the Chinese scientists that likely produced COVID.
Right. And just refresh our audience's recollection a little bit on Barrick's background and the substantiation for the point you made.
Sure. So he is a scientist at the University of North Carolina. He's been researching coronavirus for 30 years. He's probably the world's foremost expert on the laboratory manipulation of coronavirus. And what people forget, or some people forget, is that in 2003 there was a coronavirus outbreak called SARS, which had a very high mortality rate in people who got it. It was about 10%. And that got the attention of Tony Fauci and NIH, and they sort of worked with Barrick to try to figure out what they were calling a pan-coronavirus vaccine, research, meaning a vaccine against all different kinds of coronavirus, to research, which coronaviruses might come out of caves in China and actually be more lethal. Barrick was doing this with the full knowledge and encouragement of Tony Fauci. Fauci had an event at NIH in 2013, which I wrote about. In fact, this reminds me, I'm probably going to repost this piece, which I wrote about a few months ago, where Barrick spoke extensively about the need for this kind of research, and he was collaborating with the Wuhan Institute. And the most likely way that coronavirus emerged in late 2019 is a leak from that lab. And they were working with Ralph Barrick. Now, that doesn't mean that Ralph Barrick knew the exact experiment that they did that might have produced this. And we've seen emails where he expresses concerns about the level of safety in the Wuhan lab for some of this experimentation. But nonetheless, he didn't walk away. He continued to work with these people. And in 2019, coronavirus emerged and devastated the world economy, killed a whole bunch of, old sick people and some, a handful of young healthy people. And nobody has really ever gotten to the bottom of Ralph Barrick's association, either with Tony Fauci or with the lab. We've gotten pieces, but we haven't gotten to the bottom of it.
The other matter, too, is just the impact of the vaccine and the boosters, with Travis Kelce out there telling everybody to get their 70-second booster. The additional research that needs to be done here. I mean, there was this study that was done in King County, Washington State, where 98% of the population received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine by 2023, and they document a significant increase in excess fatal cardiopulmonary arrests. And, is there a correlation? Is there causation? Is there particular profiles? But I mean, with all of this, the zeitgeist for the vaxes and the boosters, and it's still going on a much smaller scale, assessment of health impact in different cohorts of Americans 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years removed seems to be something that needs to be first order.
Yes, if we can even do it, because the clinical trials were essentially blown up in early 2021, so we don't have clean data. But yes, we need to try to do that. What I wrote yesterday is the thing that Kennedy can do on the COVID vaccines that is unquestionably that needs to happen day one, is they are still recommending these vaccines in the United States for healthy kids, adolescents, even babies over 6 months old. And that is disgusting. It is wrong. We're not the Europeans aren't doing it. The Australians aren't doing it. Other, sort of advanced countries aren't doing it. We're only doing it here because the CDC won't admit that this was completely unnecessary to give to healthy kids, even the first shot. So they're still pushing this. And guess what? There are still incidents happening. There are still kids getting myocarditis. You can see the reports in VAERS. And whoever is involved with that needs to be fired. Okay. One other thing that he could and should do is we should have a real clinical trial for flu vaccines. They're not vaccines, but flu shots. Okay. We should spend $100 million and put 40,000 people in a big trial over the course of a winter and see if actually the flu vaccine does anything for those people. Because we get 200 million people a year, 180 million people a year vaccinated against the flu. It's not clear it's helpful at all in terms of reducing deaths or serious injury, serious illness from flu. The data is incredibly messy. We should just, if RFK could do that, or Jay Bhattacharya could do that, all by itself, that would be a good thing. And, you notice I'm not talking about like the measles vaccine or something like that. I'm not qualified. I don't discuss those. I haven't looked into the science. I don't really know whether there's any good evidence that those vaccines cause autism, but I know about the respiratory virus vaccines, and they don't work very well, and we need to admit it, and we need to research it.
Alex Berenson, he's the author of Pandemia, How Coronavirus Hysteria Took Over Our Government, Rights, and Lives, and his Substack, Unreported Truths, which you find at alexberenson.substack.com. Alex, thank you as always.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Balance of Nature supplements. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm Rick. I'm in the best shape of my life. I play a lot of golf, I work out, and ride my bike. I'm 63 and I can still almost hit a golf ball 300 yards. I mean, when I'm in the gym, I can do 90-pound dumbbells. That's what I did when I was young. As long as I'm living, I'll keep taking my Balance of Nature because it makes a big difference.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product. And you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code Chicago.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text REP to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text REP to 321-321. That's REP to 321-321.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, Mark Andreessen, the billionaire tech entrepreneur, tells Joe Rogan what time it is in America. We'll start there with Steve Moore, get his assessment of Mark Andreessen's observation. 7:37.
And don't forget Open Mic Wednesday. Just in time for Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for? I'm sure, Dan, you're really looking forward to that segment. But now let's head into the newsroom. Nikki Whaley in for Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 36 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Thanksgiving's almost here and travelers are in a rush to get where they're going. As it stands this morning, there's been more than 220 flights delayed, but less than 20 cancellations according to FlightAware. TSA advises travelers to leave at least 3 hours early to the airport for your flight because there's a lot of people that typically don't fly, so they're going to slow you down. DNA testing on fish samples from Chicago area markets and restaurants found that up to 30% were mislabeled with white flesh fish like red snapper, frequently identified as other species. Conducted by Dominican University and NBC5, response to the study also uncovered that white tuna was often escalar, a fish with high mercury levels banned in parts of Europe and Japan. Tuna and salmon were consistently labeled correctly. Experts recommend buying whole fish or sourcing seafood from stores with transparent sourcing programs. News is a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee's their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Taking a look at the roadways from the
Charlie Kirk sees a battle coming.
From the intel community, from the National Security Advisor, the National Security Agency, they're going to spy on Trump. They're going to listen to every single phone call Trump has. They're going to bug Trump's office. And so from day one, we need to rip that thing down to first principles and anticipate that this is going to be a 15-round battle against the intel agency.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm Rick. I'm in the best shape of my life. I play a lot of golf, I work out, and ride my bike. I'm 63 and I can still almost hit a golf ball 300 yards. I mean, when I'm in the gym, I can do 90-pound dumbbells. That's what I did when I was young. As long as I'm living, I'll keep taking my Balance of Nature because it makes a big difference.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product. And you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code Chicago.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Don't wait until the end of the year to move your assets around. Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 1-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak, taking a look at the roads. Problems on the Tri-State northbound with an accident reported right at Sibley. Also, there is one north of Balmoral. That one is in the right lane, so traffic is definitely slow there. The good news is if you're going south, you're fine. Eastbound 390, watch out for a stall as you approach 290, and also the other tollways are clear. Inbound Eden's wide open, the Kennedy 25 in from O'Hare into the Jane Byrne interchange. Inbound Eisenhower 25 minutes, 390 into the post office. Stevenson in half hour, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Inbound Ryan 15 minutes outbound. You're okay. No problems to report on I-57 or the Bishop Ford and DuSable Lakeshore Drive is clear. Traffic is a service of Trimlight Chicago. Don't let hanging holiday lights get you in a Scrooge mood. 'Tis the season to save time, money, and energy with permanent programmable holiday lighting for your home. Get your free quote today at trimlight-chicago.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Mild day today, cloudy, and the high 47. Clouds, a snow shower late tonight, low 29. Clouds tomorrow morning, breezy and cold. Couple of snow showers. Clouds and sun by the afternoon. The high tomorrow at 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Billionaire tech entrepreneur Mark Andreessen. U of I grad. Co-founder of Netscape, and I think he wrote Mosaic, and he's got a big venture capital firm, Andreessen Horowitz. Anyway, he was on with Joe Rogan, and he's excited about the Trump administration, the coming Trump administration as well, because it's time in America to do a couple things.
It is time to carve this government back in size and scope. It's time to take the overall, you can talk about distribution of taxes, but it's time to take the overall tax load down. It's time to take the spending down. It's time to get the government out of the position of deciding who gets money. It's time to unleash economic growth.
Elon explained that there's more agencies than there have been years of the United States.
Correct. Yeah, 450 federal agencies and 2 new ones a year. And then my favorite twist is we have this thing called independent federal agencies. So, like, for example, we have this thing called the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, CFPB, which was it's sort of Elizabeth Warren's personal agency that she gets to control. And it's an independent agency that just gets to run and do whatever it wants, right? And if you read the Constitution, like, there is no such thing as an independent agency, and yet there it is.
And yet there it is. He's exactly right. And the CFPB is a good example. Independent agencies operating independent of governmental oversight. It's remarkable. And he provided some detail on this, too, much to the surprise of Joe Rogan, who, normally learns things when he has smart people on. That's okay. But Andreessen on CFPB is great.
What does her agency do?
Whatever she wants. What does it do, though? Basically, terrorize financial institutions, prevent fintech, prevent new competition, new startups that want to compete with the big banks.
Really?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
How so?
Just by terrorizing anybody who tries to do anything new in financial services. And
can you give me an example?
Well, I guess debanking. This is where a lot of the debanking comes from, is these agencies. So debanking is when you as either a person or your company are literally kicked out of the banking system.
Like they did to Kanye.
Exactly, like they did to Kanye. My partner Ben's father has been debanked.
Really?
We had an employee who
for what?
For having the wrong politics, for saying unacceptable things. Under current banking regulations, here's a great thing. Under current banking regulations, after all the reforms of the last 20 years, there's now a category called a politically exposed person, PEP. And if you are a PEP, you are required by financial regulators to kick them off of to kick them out of your bank. You're not allowed to have
What if you're politically on the left?
Well, that's fine.
No,
because they're not politically exposed.
So no one on the left gets debanked?
No, I have not heard of a single instance of anybody on the left getting debanked.
Could you
I love Joe Rogan's high-pitched gasp when he learns.
It was genuine. Like, what? I didn't know about PEP.
The debanking of going on, which of course we've documented. Gun, people in the gun manufacturing or gun business of selling guns legally, and other examples, as Andreessen mentioned, people with the wrong political views, if they have enough import get zeroed in on by CFPB. That's one of those agencies that should go, one of the many of the 450 that were mentioned that should go. So it's exciting to see people like Andreessen, who have some juice, excited about what DOJ is going to do prospectively and what this administration is going to do collectively. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined, as we are on Wednesdays, by Steve Moore, economist and author, along with Art Laffer, of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity. Again, Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Amy. Happy Thanksgiving.
You're also a U of I grad like Mark Andreessen, but he's smarter.
Oh, wow.
I actually didn't realize that Andreessen had gone to U of I. That's
well,
amazing.
yeah.
Well, there are a lot of smart people who came out of that university.
Well, there used
by
to
the way,
be.
I've been chopping on the bit to tell you, I'm very famous now. Did you know that, Dan and Amy? I'm very famous.
What happened?
You already were famous.
You're more famous.
Elon Musk tweeted me out yesterday because I had been on Fox News saying that there are all these federal agencies. You have these gigantic buildings in Washington D.C. that are like a whole city block long, a city block wide. 8 stories high. Massive structures and massive edifices, and you go into these like Department of Labor, Department of Agriculture, Department of Interior. You go into them these days, and it's like spooky. There's nobody in there. You're like, "Hello, is anybody here?"
Like Chicago Public Schools, yes.
Exactly. Anyway, so I was talking about how maybe we could shut these things down if nobody's there working. And Elon picked that up and he tweeted it out, and that went to we had 7 million views on that one. So I'm very famous.
Very good. Congratulations on that accomplishment.
Can you follow me on Twitter now, please? I'm at Amy Jacobson, JACOBSON.
And ask Elon to follow her too.
What you need to do is you need to get Elon to follow you on Twitter.
So how about what Mark Andreessen had to say, and what you think about the politics on the Hill better than maybe some of these tech entrepreneurs do, and what you think the real possibilities are of things like eliminating CFPB, of eliminating agencies wholesale.
I've been in this game a long time, Dan. I arrived in Washington in 1984, so if my math is correct, that's 40 years. Mm-hmm. And so I've lived through Republican regimes, Democrat regimes. I lived through Reagan. I lived through Bush. I lived through Obama. I remember the Republican Revolution when Newt Gingrich, stormed and took the House for the first time in 40 years. And I wish I could tell you that, Republicans are going to be fiscal saints and they're going to be hardcore. We're going to cut all these agencies. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, they talk a good game, but I'll give you really a good example of what I'm talking about, Dan. The so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Remember that one, that $1.2 trillion spending bill? Well, not a single Republican voted for it quite correctly because it was a horrible bill, and it had all this green energy pork in there. It wasn't. They build these factories. The government would fund these factories in places like, Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania, and even in the red states, they build these factories because the liberals aren't stupid. They figured, well, if we spread our weight around the pork, then everybody will want it. Well, now, I mean, it's a layup, right, for the Republicans to say, guess what? We're not going to spend that money, that $1.2 trillion. That would be. Don't you think that would be a pretty easy way to save money?
Yeah, that seems logical. I'm with you so far. Yeah.
Right. But guess what? Now a lot of Republicans, maybe there's some virtue in this program because we got this plant in Toledo, we got this plant in Milwaukee, and so on. So this happens. I've been to this movie before. Now, what's different about this, though, is that there is this guy. The thing that's cool about Doge. By the way, have you seen
Doge? Doge.
Yeah, that's the new. Is it Doge or Doge?
Doge. Get with it.
But there's a great cartoon today that I saw, and it had, the picture of the White House and a sign out in front and said, "Beware of the Doge." Doge. But everybody in Washington is very nervous about this because we get rich off the rest of you. I mean, that's the scam that's been going on for the last 50 years. And so, but I do think what the Doge is going to do is sort of change the way Americans even perceive government. I mean, most of us agree that government is way too big and costs too much. But when you start really exposing the redundancy, the waste, the fraud, the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of this, I think it may change, voters' attitudes about
well,
this.
The other thing, the other thing about this, if I can interrupt too, which I think is different than the Reagan era and so forth, where we made some of the same promises, is that Musk and Ramaswamy and the Doge thing is outside, and they have great cultural cachet in a way that some blue ribbon panel with a bunch of congressmen don't have. They can bring public pressure and do public education that people might actually consume in a way that politicians, the traditional politicians, can't.
But yeah. You're making exactly the point, more artfully than I was making that point. But exactly, I think you change the way people perceive government by exposing it. I remember back. You guys are probably too young to remember this, but back when there was something called the Grace Commission under Reagan, it was a very similar thing to what, and they came up with, they found all these just concrete examples of waste. Like, and what became the poster child was, remember the $800 toilet seats? Remember that one?
At the Pentagon, right.
And so everybody's like, oh my God, the Pentagon's spending $800 on toilet seats. They must be wasting money. It just became a symbol. And the more of those symbols of waste that we can show, I think the more people are going to realize that, look, I think we could let's see, Elon said we could cut $2 trillion out of the budget. I think that's a bit of a stretch, to say the least. I would take $200 billion, actually. But you can cut hundreds of billions of dollars of redundancy. We had programs that date back before World War II, that nobody even has any idea what these programs do. And we just routinely spend more and more money on these things. So, yeah, I'm very hopeful about this. I actually think next year we will spend less money than we did this year, which doesn't seem like a great feat. But in Washington, that's a big deal. They actually reduce the size of the budget.
The journey of 1,000 miles. What about tell us about Trump's choice for labor secretary, and it's not just the. Yeah, well, that tells us everything right there. It's not just disagreement, but if this is a sop to the Teamsters, okay, fine, except to the extent that you take positions that she has, like support for the PRO Act, seriously. And that's my question. Is she going to be a make good for the Teamsters and for some of the big labor support Trump got, and that's it? Or is she really going to have policy-making influence?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, by the way, for those what's the woman's name again? I forget.
Lori Chavez DeRemer.
Yeah, and so I've never met her, so I don't know her, and I know most of the other people who are selected in the cabinet, which, on balance, were excellent choices. But look, you're right. And for those who don't know what the PRO Act is, the PRO Act basically would repeal right to work laws in 27 states. Because right now, in 27 states, and by the way, Illinois is not one of those states, as you guys know. You cannot be required against your will, forced to join a union. Now, by the way, it's not anti-union. It doesn't say you can't have unions. It just says you can't force a worker to join the union if they don't want to, and that's an important tool for economic development. The states that are right to work laws have about twice the job growth that states that aren't. So that would reverse 100 years of labor law, Dan.
Well, why did Trump pick her?
Can't allow that.
I mean, did somebody owe somebody a favor or something here?
Well, I think Dan just nailed it, because the Teamsters they didn't endorse Trump, right? But they just didn't endorse Kamala.
Right. But they did endorse Lori Chavez DeRemer for labor secretary. They did do that.
Right, exactly. So look, I mean, this was important. One of the reasons that Trump won this election is Trump did so well with union workers, private sector union workers, not government union workers. And so, yes, this was a kind of sop to the industrial unions like the Teamsters. But we're going to work like hell to make sure that she doesn't reverse. Oh, the other thing that she's in favor of is this crazy idea where you get rid of franchises, where you basically, that franchise model is uniquely American, where, you and I could, gin up $75,000 and buy a McDonald's franchise or something and run this. And that's the way we started small businesses. She wants every franchise to be, you can sue the parent company, and that would just destroy the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of small businesses.
She's also against the gig workers. She's a very California
Democrat.
Exactly. Though she's a Washington Republican, It's like an Illinois Republican. I can't tell the difference in some of these places.
So, but the truth is though that the labor secretary doesn't have that much power. So
yes.
I think that
you and Laffer and Kudlow make sure, and Besant and others make sure of that. One other thing.
By the way, Besant,
that was your guy. I know.
I mean, I've known him for 10 years, and he's a fantastic guy. He's a financial wizard, and I like his 3-3-3 plan. Let's get 3 million more barrels a day, 3% economic growth, and cut the deficit to 3% of GDP. Great ideas.
Remind me of Herman Cain's 999. A little bit different, but it's the same theme. Increments of 3. Yes.
What do you think? We talked a bit earlier in the show, but I want to get your take on it. Trump's saber rattling on tariffs right now. Even though I am not a protectionist, this is coming. I like the fact that he is putting Mexico on notice and Mexico and Canada on notice now, with the idea that maybe if you can bring them to be more constructive in engaging on the border security thing, that we won't have to go down this road by the time he takes office. Is that a fair read?
Well, Amy, I mean, can we get a recording of what just Dan said? I mean, I think maybe I'm having an impact on his thinking.
Because rubbing off on him.
That is, you're coming around, Dan. No, that's exactly true. I mean, what you said is exactly right. That this is a shot at the bow at China and Mexico. And the truth is, the leading cause of death among young Americans today is fentanyl and illegal drugs that are poisoning our kids. And we cannot allow that to happen. And Mexico and China both have they have the power to stop, not the entire, stopping the import of illegal drugs is a tough thing to do, but they could make an effort to do it. And I think if they were to do that, we could save lives. And we can, I think in the end of the day that, that I think Mexico will start cooperating on this. And if we can save lives of young people, I'm all in favor of it. So hopefully we don't get the terrorists. We just get China and Mexico to stop sending us these poisonous drugs.
Stephen Moore, economist and author, along with Art Laffer, The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Happy Thanksgiving, Steve.
Okay, guys. Same to you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins, owner of Bancroft Architects and Engineers, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business providing design solutions for clients, including the VA. When looking for a trusted banking partner, Bancroft was lucky to find that partner in Signature Bank in 2015. With Signature, personal service goes beyond a login and a PIN number. My staff and I have the comfort of knowing that we're dealing with real people who know our business and care about us as individuals. Signature helped finance our new state-of-the-art facility, and Bancroft looks forward to further expanding business opportunities for disabled veterans and historically disadvantaged communities.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, It's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Balance of Nature supplements. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm Rick. I'm in the best shape of my life. I play a lot of golf, I work out, and ride my bike. I'm 63 and I can still almost hit a golf ball 300 yards. I mean, when I'm in the gym, I can do 90-pound dumbbells. That's what I did when I was young. As long as I'm living, I'll keep taking my Balance of Nature because it makes a big difference.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product. And you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code Chicago.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Inflation is hitting everyone hard right now, especially when it comes to health care. Over the last 10 years, healthcare costs have skyrocketed by, get this, 230%. If you have Medicare Parts A and B, you know there are still out-of-pocket expenses like deductibles and co-payments, and they really add up. But here's some good news. MediShare 65 Plus is designed to fill in those gaps and help protect you from rising healthcare costs. At only $99 per month up to age 75, you get peace of mind at a price you can afford. And MediShare is trusted, too. It's been around 30 years. It's not some big impersonal thing. It's a community of people helping each other, business owners, pastors, retirees. People love it. MediShare 65 Plus just makes sense. To learn more, give them a call. They're great to talk to. They'll offer to pray with you each time you call, too. Call now, 855-PSALM-32. That's 855-PSALM-32. 855-PSALM-32.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Been looking forward to having this guy on for a while. Mike Davis, the founder and president of Article 3 Project. You see him on Bannon's War Room quite a bit. Well, he wants a reckoning at DOJ and FBI, and we're going to talk to him about that at 8:08.
And what Hollywood stars think of Trump supporters. It's 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He hopes Gaza is next. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Biden renewing the push to stop the war there on day one of the ceasefire now in effect between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Now Hamas has a choice to make. Their only way out is to release the hostages.
Now, in the Hezbollah ceasefire deal, militants have to move farther away from Israel's border, and Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
The Israel Defense Forces confirm they'll conduct a gradual withdrawal from southern Lebanon over the next 60 days. And IDF security officials told Fox News their campaign against Hezbollah has set the Iran-supported militia back years. The last few months have seen intense airstrikes and a limited ground invasion. Most of Hezbollah's leaders have been killed.
And now President-elect Trump has nominated somebody to work with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., his pick to lead the Department of Health and Human Services.
Stanford University physician and economist Jay Bhattacharya has been named as President-elect Donald Trump's pick to be director of the National Institutes of Health. Bhattacharya, a critic of the pandemic lockdowns and vaccine mandates, was one of three authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, which was an open letter published in October 2020 that said lockdowns were causing irreparable harm and promoted herd immunity. The nominations of both Bhattacharya and Kennedy have to be confirmed by the Senate.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Trump is also bringing Kevin Hassett back to lead the National Economic Council. We just got an update showing a slight decline in new unemployment claims last week, but the number of people still collecting jobless benefits rose to a 3-year high. Later this morning, we'll get an update on inflation for last month. A lot of Americans are going somewhere for Thanksgiving in what's expected to be record travel. Most are driving, but airports are crowded too. This woman flying out of Dallas says it's all going to plan.
I've got the morning flight to Atlanta. The plane's already on the ground.
So I feel pretty good about that.
There are only 23 flights canceled nationwide, though there are more than 500 delays. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 37 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. People with HIV will be allowed to get kidneys and livers from HIV-infected donors under a new rule from the Biden administration. A rule announced Tuesday by the Department of Health and Human Services gets rid of the requirement that these kinds of transplants only be allowed as part of clinical research. Thanksgiving can deliver a lot of deliciousness, although it can sometimes leave people sick. The USDA says about 48 million people get sick each year on Thanksgiving, usually from turkey. The USDA is putting out some safety protocols. When it comes to thawing, plan ahead as all meats, poultry, and fish should defrost in the fridge. Your turkey needs 24 hours for every 5 pounds in weight. Wash your hands and cutting boards always and often. Do not cut raw meats and other foods together. Folks at Rutgers University say bacteria can transfer from a surface to food in less than 1 second. Remember the danger zone, that's all about temperature. Bacteria can grow when hot foods get cold and cold foods get warm. Get leftovers into the fridge within 2 hours. When in doubt, the USDA has a hotline for meat and poultry. Lanes across several Illinois highways are reopening to allow for an influx of holiday traffic. The Illinois Department of Transportation announced non-emergency closures will be suspended from 3 p.m. this afternoon through Sunday night at midnight. Millions of folks across the state are expected to be hitting the roadways for Thanksgiving. Still, some construction closures will remain, but officials are hoping their adjustments will help keep things less congested. News is a service of Del Brocchio Marchetti Group of At Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago. With over $800 million in sales, you'll get the most value for your home. Call 708-828-0000. Again, 708-828-0000. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
GameStop back in the spotlight for some investors, shares continuing their rally after ending Tuesday's session up more than 2% for its third consecutive day of gains. StockTwit's director of community telling MarketWatch there's a lot of discussion about GameStop on the platform, with the stock currently number 4 on StockTwit's most active stocks list, and there's chatter among users whether GameStop is starting a new squeeze. In 2021, a short squeeze of the stock of the video game retailer and other securities took place, causing major financial consequences for a lot of hedge funds and large losses for short sellers. A short squeeze happens when the price of a stock moves sharply higher and causes traders who bet its price would fall to have to buy it, so they don't take on even bigger losses. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 23rd on their Lost Christmas Tour 2024. AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the All-State Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
Our goal is to provide patients with the strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative medicine.
Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting.
And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way.
Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function, without surgery, without drugs.
Under Dr. Scheinkup's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America.
I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
I love to travel. I've been to Easter Island, the Galapagos, Morocco, India, and the first item that I pack is my balance of nature.
Whether you're taking a vacation, visiting loved ones, or discovering new destinations, traveling is exciting. But let's face it, sometimes it's easy to prioritize everything else over your well-being when you're on the go. Balance of Nature offers a simple solution. Formulated from 31 whole fruit and vegetable ingredients, our fruits and veggie supplements are encapsulated and easily fit into your busy travel itinerary. Between bustling airports and scenic roads, Balance of Nature is the perfect addition to your wanderlust lifestyle. Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
iZervay is proven to slow GA progression.
iZervay gets GA going slower.
iZervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. iZervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. iZervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about iZervay today.
iZervay gets GA going slower.
Visit iZervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchek taking a look at the roads, beginning with the inbound Edens. A 16-minute trip from Lake Cook Road to Montrose. Kennedy, not bad. 25 O'Hare into downtown. That tightens up Pulaski to Chicago. On the inbound Eisenhower, stop-and-go traffic Mill Road to Wooddale. That's due to metal debris in the center lane. 48 minutes in from 390 into downtown. If you're going in on the Stevenson, about 30 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The Dan Ryan, 15 95th Street on in. Looks like the Chicago Skyway looks great. I-57 and the Bishop Ford, both of those are wide open as well. DuSable Lakeshore Drive now backing up on the southbound trip northbound side. That's okay. An accident to watch for northbound side of the Tri-State north of Balmoral. The Jane Addams is clear both directions, as is the Veterans Memorial Tollway and 8094. So far, so good. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, mostly cloudy, mild, a high 47. Clouds, a snow shower around late tonight, low 29. Breezy and cold clouds in the morning, couple of snow showers, partly sunny by the afternoon, the high Thanksgiving Day at 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You know, there's two kinds of ass kickers. One is the sort of the brute force, blunt instrument variety. Throws haymakers, but can leave themselves exposed. The other is the type of person with the experience and technical skills to exhibit controlled aggression, to line up their shots and rarely miss, to punch and counterpunch. Tom Homan is a good example of the ass kicker that is controlled aggression, knows his stuff, has the experience, the technical skills. So is Kash Patel. and from my view. Kash Patel, who was DOD Chief of Staff in Trump 1 and is widely rumored to be FBI Deputy Director, much to the chagrin of the usual FBI establishment types that now populate the desks at MSNBC. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, because Patel, former federal prosecutor, Patel talking about the corruption of the classification system on Sean Ryan's podcast. Sean Ryan, former Navy SEAL, CIA. It's a good example of somebody sort of who knows the landscape, has the technical skill, the background to properly exploit it in furtherance of the mission here.
Trump 2 was you need a 24/7 declassification office, whatever you want to call it. Transparency, truth, whatever, I don't care. Sits in the White House, reports directly to you, and you take incoming from the United States of America. I want JFK. I want the 9/11 files. I want this. I want that. All the FBI, and this is a tool, this is something we didn't cover. What the deep state uses the most to cover up their corruption is an illegal application of the classification system. Remember the Lovebirds text from, this is a beauty, the Lovebirds text from FBI, DOJ land, Russiagate, Strzok and Page were texting each other. They were running the Russiagate investigation against Trump. They were the head of the counterintelligence unit at the FBI, and they're having an extramarital affair together. Can't make this stuff up. They're sending each other texts about how much they hate Trump and are going to create an insurance policy to stop Trump. Then we finally find those text messages. You know what the FBI and DOJ do for like a year? Redact them to congressional investigators and congressional men and women running the oversight of their agency. That's just one example. But it gets even better. Here's the deep state full circle. Just last week, do you know what Strzok and Page received from the Department of Justice?
What?
A $1.5 million payout to settle a lawsuit that Strzok and Page brought for the improper disclosure of their personal text messages on FBI phones. And the DOJ just rewarded them. They broke the law. They broke the chain of command. They broke every regulation there is in the FBI. They weaponized the system of justice against a political target they hated. We found those text messages, and we got them declassified finally in full when I became Deputy Director of National Intelligence. And the world has now seen them, and they can read them. And that's the best form of transparency. That's why I want this 24/7 declassification office. Don't have me regurgitate it to you. Read it. Get the documents, get the files, get the memos. But the deep state came full circle and gave these guys a payday for rigging a presidential election and breaking the law. So now you know what happens. That's step one. Step two, get America the truth. And that's what that office would be for.
I love it. And not only did Strzok and Page get a payday, and then Strzok gets a sinecure at Georgetown University, Andy McCabe, the deputy director, who was written up in the Inspector General's reports for similar violations of FBI policy at minimum, arguably the law. Somebody was lying before Congress. It was Comey or McCabe or both of them in different ways. And he gets his pension reinstated by the Biden administration. This is what we're talking about, what we've been talking about, what needs to happen, the accountability for bad actors who committed discernible bad acts, full investigation to the extent that the one is required, and accountability. And you need to have the Kash Patels and the Tom Homans, that sort of profile, I think, in order to affect that accountability. Another such person who I think fits the description is Mike Davis. He's the founder and president of the Article 3 Project, former chief counsel for nominations to the Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Charles Grassley. Mike Davis, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So, I mean, just in terms of, what Kash talked about, a while back on that podcast, the National Office for Declassification, to deal with the sort of systemic corruption of how deep state actors, as he describes, keep important information that should be consumed by the American people from the American people. I mean, it's the same thing we see now with sort of Jack Smith on the precipice of walking away from these prosecutions that he ginned up against President Trump. And we're supposed to just, from their perspective, and frankly, some perspective, I think, of some on the center right, let's just let that go away. Trump was victorious. Now we move on, and we need to focus on the policy agenda prospectively. But it seems to me, and I know from some of the things you've said on Bannon's show and that you've tweeted as well, that part of that policy agenda moving forward is what Kash Patel is talking about, and is more than just Jack Smith being allowed to walk away.
Yeah, President Biden and these Democrats, prosecutors and witnesses and judges and other operatives in New York, D.C., Southern District of Florida, Atlanta, Arizona, Colorado, Maine, they ran this unprecedented Republican-ending lawfare and election interference against President Trump. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to throw him in prison for life for non-crimes in 4 different indictments. They tried to take him off the ballot in Colorado and Maine under a bogus theory of insurrection under the 14th Amendment that was reversed 9-0 by the Supreme Court of the United States. They managed to lose the 3 liberal justices on that theory. They even tried to take off President Trump's head twice when they underfunded his Secret Service protection and President Biden said that Trump was the gravest threat to democracy, essentially compared him to Hitler. There must be severe legal, financial, and political consequences for this lawfare and election interference. This is a criminal conspiracy under 18 U.S.C. Section 241, a very serious federal civil rights felony conspiracy against rights. When you politicize and weaponize intel agencies and law enforcement to go after your political enemies for non-crimes, that is the very definition of 18 U.S.C. Section 241. There must be accountability. This could never happen again.
Well, who do you go after first?
Well, I would open a grand jury investigation in Fort Pierce, Florida. That's where the Democrats ran the unprecedented illegal raid on the office of former president for presidential records that President Trump was allowed to have under the Presidential Records Act. And you investigate all of these bad actors. We know that Joe Biden's fingerprints were on all 4 of these unprecedented criminal prosecutions of President Trump. You had Jonathan Sue, President Biden's deputy White House counsel, waive President Trump's claim of constitutional executive privilege going back 250 years to George Washington on behalf of President Biden, which led to the Mar-a-Lago raid, which led to Jack Smith's 2 bogus indictments, one in Florida and one in D.C., one for espionage for presidential records he's allowed to have, and one for his Jack Smith's bogus January 6th theory in D.C. for objecting to a presidential election, which is allowed by the Electoral Count Act of 1887 and the First Amendment. You also have Matthew Colangelo deploying from the number 3 office in the Biden Justice Department, a very senior political appointee who deployed to Alvin Bragg's office, this Soros-funded DA, to bring the first indictment ever against a former president for the non-crime of a businessman settling a nuisance claim and putting it in his private books as a legal expense. I've been a lawyer for nearly 20 years. I don't know what the hell else you would call it other than a legal expense. And then Nathan Wade, Fannie Willis's special counsel / boyfriend down in Fulton County, Georgia, actually billed his time 16 hours, $250 an hour, $4,000 to Fulton County taxpayers to meet with the Biden White House, including the Biden White House counsel, before Fannie Willis brought her bogus January 6th indictment. This is obviously coordinated lawfare and election interference against President Trump. And they said that the election is irrelevant. This is about chasing real crimes. This is about the rule of law. So why did they all drop their charges after President Trump won the election? And that proves that this was election interference all along.
The nexus for the state level prosecutions in Manhattan and Fulton County, is that nexus to essentially have DOJ look into it? What you described in terms of the DOJ official Colangelo being drop shipped to Manhattan and Nathan Wade coming to meet with the Biden White House, is that what provides the opportunity for federal investigation of those state level activities?
Absolutely. Look, they were trying to take out President Trump with any means possible, bankrupt, indict, throw in prison for life, take him off the ballot illegally in Colorado and Maine. It didn't matter. This was lawfare. This was election interference. These were for non-crimes, and they know it. They pushed bogus legal theories, untested legal theories against a former and likely future president. Jack Smith did something unprecedented. He brought a separate indictment in D.C. after he drew Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida, because Judge Cannon would be a fair judge who would look out for the criminal defendant's rights, which is what a judge's job is. So Jack Smith brought a separate indictment for January 6th in D.C. in front of D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan against the same defendants at the same time. So two different indictments in two different federal venues. That's unprecedented, right? And the only reason Jack Smith did that is because he was afraid that Judge Eileen Cannon would actually give Trump a fair process in the Southern District of Florida. He knew that a D.C. judge, and he picked the perfect one with D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan, would railroad him. Remember what they did? With presidential immunity, they said that they had to skip the D.C. circuits because this was so important. It had to get resolved before the election. And so, we have to go to straight to the Supreme Court of the United States, right? And then after they lose that and they do a separate appeal, then they change their position. The government changed its position under Jack Smith. They got D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan to allow Jack Smith to put on a partisan show trial right before the election, blatant election interference, where the government's put on its case instead of the defendant filing his motion to dismiss and then the government responding. They reversed it because Jack Smith knew he wouldn't be able to get this evidence out there before the election if they didn't get D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan to reverse it. Every step of the way, Jack Smith tried to railroad President Trump, tried to break norms, and it was obviously about election interference. The fact that he shut down his... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, what do you say, just in terms of the criminal exposure for a Jack Smith or other officers of the court, what do you say to the response? Well, wait a second, there's prosecutorial discretion here, judicial discretion, and you don't want to do anything that would have a chilling effect on prosecutorial and judicial discretion.
Well, there's a difference between when you are a judge in your robe versus when you take off that judicial robe and put on your partisan pom-poms. And that's exactly what D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan, Judge Arthur Engoron in New York, Judge Juan Merchan in New York City. These judges were partisan participants in this lawfare. And look, think about it this way. Mm-hmm. With these judges, with these prosecutors, with these witnesses, would they have discretion if they were politicizing and weaponizing their offices against Black Americans? Would we say, oh, sorry, we shouldn't prosecute them? This is going to have a chilling effect, so we shouldn't prosecute them because they're, this is their discretion to target Black Americans simply because they're Black. This is why we have federal civil rights statutes, including 18 U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights. Again, when you politicize and weaponize intel agencies and law enforcement against political enemies for non-crimes, that is squarely within the definition of conspiracy against rights.
Do you have any feel as to whether AG Pam Bondi shares your view on this?
I don't know what she's publicly said about this, but I strongly support Pam Bondi to be Trump's attorney general. She was Florida's attorney general for 8 years. She's been a very successful lawyer for decades. She looks a lot younger than she is. She's a great person. She's bold. She's fearless. And she's going to follow the law wherever it leads, and nobody's above the law.
Mike Davis, founder and president of the Article 3 Project, former chief counsel for nominations to Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley as well. Mike, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love to have you back. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Open Mic Friday has come on Open Mic Wednesday this week because Thanksgiving, of course. Special Thanksgiving edition of Open Mic Friday, where we take your calls. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line with comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all, and we start as we do with turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak. David.
And also, we're going to say what we're thankful for, too, right, guys?
David.
David.
Go ahead.
Well, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and
is?
it's one of my favorite times of the year. You know, and today used to be the best day to go out in the city. Remember that? When you hang with your friends, returning from the long weekend. But not anymore, man. I don't know what's going on. It's too dangerous even for a Disney parade, right? Anyway, I'm very thankful to be with family, an abundance of food, football, fun conversations. We certainly have a lot to talk about. I don't have any liberal people at the table tomorrow, so there shouldn't be any fireworks. But I can imagine there's going to be a lot of fiery dinners all over the nation. When I think about Thanksgiving, though, I think back to when we were kids and the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock and they were welcomed.
You were there for the Plymouth Rock landing?
I misspoke.
Oh.
When we were kids and they told us the story. Sorry. About Thanksgiving, and Pilgrims. And it was, time traveling, like Trump. Anyway, they landed there and everything was great and everybody worked together to grow crops and they had this great feast for all their blessings. I hate to say it, but that's not how the deal went down, right? Here's the real story that you were never told. Right. The Pilgrims first arrived in America, and 3 arrows wrapped in a snake skin were left on their boat. This was meant as a threat by the Narragansett tribe, and you can look this up, who were the dominant tribe in the region. The Pilgrims responded by sending back the snake skin with bullets to the Narragansett. Now, the Narragansett took this act as a symbol of strength. And they decided not to respond as they were already fighting the Wampanoag, a different tribe. That's when the Wampanoag reached out to the Pilgrims. It wasn't just to be nice, but rather to form an alliance between them, kind of a military alliance where both sides agreed that they would protect each other if they were attacked by the Narragansett. Why don't schools teach this instead of the nice little story about the Pilgrims and the Indians? I would say maybe that it's that they want you to view the world as the oppressed versus the oppressors. They don't want you and your kids to know that the Pilgrims were invited because the Narragansett and the Wampanoag were in a conflict. That wasn't it. It just wasn't a peaceful existence. But because they couldn't take away the agency from the oppressed and put it on the oppressors. So I would suggest that history is much more nuanced than they would have you believe, and that maybe this is another reason to question everything. I think it's interesting to learn this little tidbit. I didn't know it, and I looked it up this year. So a couple of other quick items I'd like to bring up. First, I saw Vivek Ramaswamy talk about how he could cut government. He said that on day one, he would go in and say anybody with a Social Security that ended in an odd number would be fired. On day two, those returning they said those Social Security numbers who started with an even number would be fired. And then he estimated that those two measures would reduce the workforce by 75%. Now, most people that work for the government don't even go into the office. It's said, just like Steve Moore said, D.C. is a ghost town, and I believe it. But what are those people going to do after they get laid off? I mean, everyone's been feeding off this golden goose for years like a bunch of George Costanzas, only worse. So I like the idea of cutting the fat, and I don't have any sympathy for unproductive government workers, but nobody's talking about that. Maybe they'll be replacing the migrants in the fields. Who knows? And one more thing that they're not talking about, and this is just an observation, Trump and his super friends have not said anything in the past week about the Biden regime and NATO nations provoking Russia and trying to start a nuclear war.
It's been eerily quiet on that front. Even Elon Musk has been silent. He tweets like 1,200 tweets a day. So the question is why? Something's off there. They're either hiding something or maybe they're doing something in private. Who knows? So have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. Try to be kind to the Karens and don't eat too much.
Okay, thank you, David. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line on this open mic Friday. That's come on Wednesday. Something I wanted to get to.
There's something I want to get to, too, but age before beauty, go.
I mean,
if
I'll play along with that.
Thanks, Dan.
John Kerry, the outgoing green energy czar, why the long face? It's just his face. Was at Harvard, JFK School of Government, talking about end times, as is his wont. And it's time for people to behave because we need to declare a climate emergency. I guess before January 20th. Chop, chop, John.
So I think, personally, we're on the brink of needing to declare a climate emergency, which is what we really have. And we need to get people to behave as if this really is a major transitional challenge to the whole planet, to everybody. People in Africa don't have electricity, need to choose the right kinds of electricity. And we need to help them be able to afford it and do it. We are the largest economy in the world, $24 trillion or $23 trillion economy, maybe more by now. The next closest is China at about 18 trillion. And the next closest to the two of us, Germany and Japan at 4 trillion. That's how far it drops down. You don't think we have some sort of obligation out of that to be responsible? I think you do. But I'm just saying that our country needs to talk about this. And we need to make it happen because we're paying huge sums of money to make up the difference.
Oh, behave. Yeah, he wants us to behave. John Kerry does. Behave by declaring the climate emergency. I don't know what controls they have in mind, but I think we could probably guess from our COVID experience. And, of course, defund ourselves and degrow ourselves so we can fund and grow other nations according to John Kerry's central plan and that of the other eco-supremacists. Very interesting. I mean, it's very passé. Of course, this is going nowhere, but it's just fun to watch these fossils like Kerry tethered to this scam they've been running, well, at least since Al Gore. I mean, it obviously predates Al Gore by 40 years if you want to go back to Paul Ehrlich and the population bomb. But the last 20 in particular, with all the scions of the Democrat socialist left. Taylor Sheridan provides a response to John Kerry, actually, in the form of his new series Landman, which we've mentioned, starring Billy Bob Thornton in particular. But it's a good cast: John Hamm, Demi Moore, and Billy Bob Thornton.
Allison Elizabeth, or Allie Larder, I believe her name is. She's his ex-wife.
Yeah.
She's gorgeous. I haven't seen her since Heroes, so I'm glad she's back.
Okay.
But anywho.
So in the series, Billy Bob Thornton plays a fixer for a big oil company in Midland, Texas, basically. And it's only 3 episodes in, if you haven't caught up yet. Again, Taylor Sheridan, who either he's a very good writer or he's got some very good writers that just are sort of on it topically and on providing not so subtle response to leftist talking points in our culture, like real time. So Billy Bob Thornton, what happens in first couple episodes, without spoiling too much, there is some guys that are killed working an oil rig. So law firm sends out a lawyer to get the lay of the land, and she has to interact with Billy Bob Thornton. You know, young feminist chick.
With a Northwestern hat on, Dan.
Of course she's wearing a Northwestern hat. Yeah, completely annoying. The kind of insufferable bitch that you would expect would be wearing a Northwestern hat. And anyway, she's looking at the windmills, and she's like, you know, in the distance, what are the windmills? Well, we don't have electricity out there, so the windmills power the wells. And so he's trying to explain how energy production works in the real world. And then she does the typical, like, oil is killing us, and why don't we just go to solar panels and windmills? And this is Billy Bob Thornton's riff.
Have any idea how much diesel they have to burn to mix that much concrete or make that steel and haul this out here and put it together with a 450-foot crane? You want to guess how much oil it takes to lubricate that thing or winterize it? And its 20-year lifespan, it won't offset the carbon footprint of making it. And don't get me started on solar panels and the lithium in your Tesla battery. And never mind the fact that if the whole world decided to go electric tomorrow, we don't have the transmission lines to get the electricity to the cities. It'd take 30 years if we started tomorrow. And unfortunately for your grandkids, we have a 120-year petroleum-based infrastructure. Our whole lives depend on it. And hell, it's in everything. That road we came in on, the wheels on every car ever made, including yours, it's in tennis rackets and lipstick and refrigerators and antihistamines, pretty much anything plastic, your cell phone case, artificial heart valves, any kind of clothing that's not made with animal or plant fibers, soap, hand lotion, garbage bags, fishing boats, you name it. Everything. And you know what the kicker is? We're going to run out of it before we find its replacement.
It's the thing that's going to kill us all as a species.
No, the thing that's going to kill us all is running out before we find an alternative. And believe me, if Exxon thought them things right there were the future, they'd be putting them all over the goddamn place. Getting oil out of the ground is the most dangerous job in the world. We don't do it because we like it. We do it because we run out of options. And you're out here trying to find something to blame for the danger besides your boss. There ain't nobody to blame but the demand that we keep pumping it.
Yeah,
That's the greatest rant ever.
It's mostly good. There's some problems with it. Like, one is we're not running out of it in 120 years. We've got 500-year capacity, and that's just what we know of. So not exactly, and it's not exactly presented. The reality of it sort of being avaricious is not exactly right either. But thinking about what he said otherwise, which is true. And it's just nice to see something like that in pop culture because Taylor Sheridan shows are quite popular, as you know. Think about he's talking about the transmission lines in this country that would have to be laid down to go to the quote unquote alternative energies. Think about what John Kerry's talking about in sub-Saharan Africa. You want to talk about the pie in the sky? How silly these people are, silly and dangerous, which is a terrible combination. But it's just, as I said, nice to see popular shows bringing some of these issues to the fore, maybe get some people that don't consume political content very much thinking about the political content that is otherwise forced upon them through the rest of pop culture.
Yeah, our younger generation is watching that, waking up slowly. Okay, I said the other day about keeping an eye on the slime. And I'm not talking about Kamala Harris's drunk dial to supporters yesterday, which was so bizarre. I'm talking about Gavin Newsom. So yesterday he was out. He's now reaching out to Trump supporters in red parts of California, wearing a purple jacket, looking like the Joker, I got to tell you, and trying to get his message across. I love you.
It's not about voters. I care about people. I don't care who you voted for. I care about people. I care about Trump supporters. I care about RFK Jr. supporters. I care about all people. I care about the people living here in the Sierra, folks down in San Diego where I just was, or in my backyard in Fair Oaks, California. I care about people, and I care about protecting them, their public safety, and their public health. And I care about being honest with them as well.
Do you know that he cares about people?
Yeah, he's a lover of mankind. I got it. If you care about people and you care about who they support, I'll tell you what, Gavin, could you do something? Could you get those congressional election vote counts wrapped up here sometime before Christmas? Have you seen these a couple of congressional races in California that are out where you had the Republican incumbent like Steele had a 5-point lead on Election Day and now is down a few hundred votes? I know the RNC is paying attention. Congressional caucuses are paying attention. We haven't devoted as much time to it this week as perhaps we should. There's been a lot to discuss. But, I mean, it's just sort of an endemic problem in states like California and Illinois. Unserious people, silly people who are dangerous. not dissimilar to John Kerry. In this context, it's just with respect to free and fair elections. Incredible. The vote counts go on in those key swing congressional races in places like Orange County. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning. I just want to wish everybody a Thanksgiving. And here in Florida, obviously, we counted the vote the same night, so unlike Illinois and California. So everybody have a safe Thanksgiving.
Thanks for the call, Eduardo. Rich, Indian Head Park.
Morning, man. Good morning, Amy. Just wanted to wish you and the family happy Thanksgiving, along with everybody at 560 and all your listeners. And I wanted to say that I'm thankful for my family, my friends. And the one thing I'm really thankful for is that Giggles and Knucklehead didn't make it to the White House. Thanks, and you guys have a great Thanksgiving weekend. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Rich. You've set this in motion. Everybody's telling us what they're thankful for.
Well, it's the day before Thanksgiving. Do you want to? If you don't want to talk about it,
go ahead. I know you're going to burst at the seams. You have something you want to.
I'm not bursting at the seams.
You want to promote.
No. Of course, I'm thankful for my family and friends. I'm thankful to God, and I am so thankful that Trump won this election.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you imagine? I don't even want to imagine it. And then you see drunk Kamala yesterday. I don't know what the heck that was. I don't know where her advisors are, but I'm much more grateful that she's not in charge of this country.
They're filing for unemployment. Jim in Lake County.
Hey, Dan, Amy, happy Thanksgiving. You guys have a great program. I am a listener as of this year. And what I'm thankful for are mimes.
Mimes or memes?
Mimes or memes?
M-I-M-I-E-S, mimes.
Oh, really? Like Marcel Marceau. You're thankful for...
No, like turning the volume down on The View.
And then you can watch the puppets dance. Thanks for the call, Jim. No, I could. Yeah. That's one way to turn those shows into something that's tolerable. You just Mystery Science Theater 3000 and just turn the volume all the way down. You don't even need to talk over them. I like that. Steve, Northwest Side.
Hi guys, I know you're looking for a Christmas idea for a gift from me. So here's what I'd like over anything. I want to see Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, and any of those other co-conspirators in a federal courtroom charged with treason for what they did to this country and President Trump in the last 2 to 3 years. That would be the best gift. If you can arrange it, I'd love it. Thank you in advance.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Well, I like what Mike Davis said there at the segment at the top of the hour, that specific statute that relates to conspiracy to deprive someone of their civil rights and using the Jack Smith prosecutions as the jumping off point to sort of take a holistic view of all of these purveyors of lawfare. Yeah, I do like that idea. I hope Pam Bondi does. Ralph and Rantoul.
Yeah, I think that's 18 U.S.C. 241. Hey,
about
you were listening,
oil. Yes. Or you just know the federal criminal code? Is that it?
I memorize it in my spare time.
Very good.
In case I ever get a bump on the head and go into law school. Hey, no, we're not running out of oil ever. The Earth makes it. This was one of the most radical things that I was introduced to as a young chemical engineer. For those sciencey people out there, I'm not going to get too deep. Methane, CH4 plus steam, H2O, really hot, high pressure in the Earth. We can make hydrocarbons. We can do it in the lab. The Earth just does it on a mass scale. We're not running out. Plus, why is it superior to idiotic batteries? The amount of energy that can be stored in a little 15-gallon gas tank, which hangs innocuously inside your vehicle body or chassis someplace, stores more energy in its chemical bonds than the 5,000 pounds of lithium battery that forms the basis of all electric cars. It's easy. You recharge it in 3 minutes, you go and you pump the carbon bonds into your gas tank. You convert it to little explosions and energy, and it moves your car hundreds of miles with just a little bit of stored liquid energy. If it still made sense to use sails, we'd see gigantic sails on the tops of, like, I don't know, the Royal Caribbean cruise lines and other people. It's stupid. It's stupid. I try to explain this to my economic students all the time, that you cannot run a $25 trillion GDP economy on solar panels and wind farms. It's not possible. Cheap energy is the absolute gold nugget of our productivity. It drives all of our prices. It drives everything.
Well, for Christmas, why don't you get your students a subscription to Paramount Plus so they can tune into Landman?
Well, at ACT score average is 22. I think they'd rather go to Pornhub. They don't really. They're not actually spending a lot of time doing intellectual things.
Well,
not all of them.
You know, or maybe
and Disney would be probably a peak for them.
Well, all right. Maybe you can get Billy Bob Thornton to come in and guest lecture your class. How about that?
Oh my God!
In character,
it would be great. It would be great, and they wouldn't know who it was anyway. And you know what? We need to pray for our country. We are at the precipice of either recovering or going full on stupid.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Let's pray for Ralph's students.
I know that's hard.
Jack, Northwest Indiana.
Good morning, guys. So in the context of slashing the budget, I just want to share one simple data point with you. So Health and Human Services, a rather large department, has 294 DEI staff members. The aggregate payroll associated with those folks, $39 million. A rather small, insignificant number. But are there 10,000? Are there 20,000 line items like this? It's incredible how easy this will be to cut the fat if there's a political will to do so, because these are completely under the radar. Nobody pays attention. And I would like somebody to tell me how my life is better on each and every day because of these 294 staff members sitting somewhere at home on Pornhub, no doubt, collecting paychecks from the government.
Oh, second Pornhub reference. All right, thanks, Jack. I mean, just remember, again, at some point, you're going to have the conversation about structural reform. Yeah, so RIFs, certainly a part of it. I'm all on board for reductions in force. You can reduce the headcount substantially, but the cost for all federal employees right now, $110 billion a year in a $6 trillion budget. Oh. So you got to get to agencies, and at some point, I know nobody wants to discuss it right now, and I doubt even if Doge tackles it, there's going to be much appetite on the Hill for it or in the White House. At some point, you have to talk about where all the money is spent. That's on entitlements. Oh, and Willowbrook.
Hi, Dan. Dan, I call on the recycling business, and the regular battery is probably the most popular product that's recycled, and it costs about $1. To recycle a lithium battery, it's about $50, so it's economically not recyclable. So they don't know what to do with these things. And secondly, it takes about 100 barrels of oil in the manufacturing process to manufacture a lithium battery. So the more lithium batteries you make, the more oil you're going to use.
Well, thanks for the call. Well, that was the point, and it was a salient one that was made by Billy Bob Thornton's character, Landman, about, you only look at the end result, and you don't look at the energy that's used to produce it, and you don't look at the relative energy that it produces and at the cost per, watt of energy either. I mean, it's all just one-sided. But, this is government generally, especially the left. We just care about inputs. We don't care about outputs. It's no different than talking about spending more money on K through 12 education. Spend $30,000 on CPS. The results are no different than when we were spending $15,000. Doesn't matter. Put more money in. Inputs, so we feel good about ourselves. We can wave our flag and say we care about education. We can wave our flag and we care about the planet. The impacts, the return, the results, the consequences, let's not concern ourselves with any of that. ugliness, practicality. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Great show. Hey, the thing I'm thankful for is the liberal woke meltdown videos. They're quite enjoyable to watch. And the one thing I notice about them is like 90% are white women followed closely by effeminate white men. And I'm not sure exactly what that means about the Democrat Party and the attractions of these people, but it says something. But anyhow, you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Look forward to next week's show.
Thanks very much, Rick. You know, I wanted to mention that, too. There's an interesting stat about gun ownership in this country, just riffing off what Rick had to say there. It was Gallup that did this survey about gun ownership. And, I mean, I don't know. People can determine or interpret the results however they see fit, but I'm going to have to find it. It's not here. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. Hold on. Gun ownership by U.S. adults holding steady at near 30%, according to Gallup. Spiking among Republican women. Republican women from 19% in the years 07 to 2012 to now 33% in 2019 to 2024. So you've seen that spike among Republican women. That's great. Independent women, Democrat women holding steady. Democrat men, gun ownership, 29%. So Republican women own the means of self-protection at a greater rate than Democrat men. Republican men, 60% are gun owners, according to Gallup. More than twice as many as Democrat men, who also trail Republican women. Read into that what you will. In terms of who's a sheep and who's a sheep and who is a shepherd. All right. We'll give the PM in Ogden Dunes, Indiana, a shot. Go ahead, PM.
The Prime Minister is wondering, what is this Pornhub? Anyway, speaking on behalf of all your listeners, we are very thankful for the two of you. I'm especially thankful for the brevity of Amy's thankfulness. And I would say that we are all thankful, too, for David Coldsack and his presentations and his sponsorship. When he was talking about the Pilgrims, I couldn't help but be reminded of Malcolm X, who said, "We didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on us." And you talked about Kerry being a fossil. Well, his detractors, call him an unleaded fossil fuel. But I'd like to challenge all the listeners, if anyone can come up with a better nickname than the perspicacious peripatetic Dan Proft. That nickname, perspicacious Proft, it's the best out there. Everyone consult your dictionaries. And then I also do like the nickname, the hot steaming cup of disinformation, Amy J. But Dan, if I could very quickly give you a trivia for Thanksgiving under the heading of why Dan Proft is single.
He'll be by
And,
himself.
I myself was a congenital bachelor until I was forced into a shotgun wedding, and I've been violently against the use of firearms ever since. But that's another story. Dan, there were three famous Hollywood sisters noted for their beauty. Between these three sisters, you had 20 marriages. 20 marriages. Only a single child was produced. Can you name who they were?
The Gabors.
You son of a biscuit. That's exactly right. Did you know that one of the Gabors had a needlepoint pillow that said, "Eat, drink, and remarry"?
All right.
And, of course, Jaja was on Green Acres.
Yes.
And she had a $40 million net worth, lived to be 99, Dan. And, Jaja wasn't always rich. They say there was a time she didn't even know where her next husband was coming from.
Oh, all right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, very good, PM. And I do like the alliterative nickname you've come up with for me. Thank you. Susan in Cedar Lake, Indiana. Try and follow that.
Hi, guys. I'm thankful for your radio show. Finally, I found some show that I think and feel just like you guys do about politics and stuff. But anyway, Dan, happy Thanksgiving. Is that your pop-up timer, or are you just happy to see me?
Hi-oh.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Didn't see that coming.
That's going to be a wild time in Cedar Lake for Thanksgiving, apparently. Got already gotten into the Thanksgiving wine, perhaps. Maybe a Bloody Mary to kick it off on this Thanksgiving Eve. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Good morning, guys. I want to let you know that I'm thankful for your show and my brothers who turned me on to your show about 5 years ago. It keeps me in touch with what's going on in Chicago. And sometimes I get my brothers texting me saying, Kevin, it was last week, my brother Robert texted me, say, Kevin, stop, let Dan talk.
Exactly.
I really enjoy the show. And I want to say one of the cultural differences that I knew I was in a different place. You were talking about women and gun ownership. I was at a Republican house down here, and all these women started pulling out their guns and showing each other, like, which one? Oh, I got a pink one. Oh, I like my Glock and all this type of stuff. It was amazing. So, anyhow, I encourage people to do that up in Chicago and then do Paige and the rest of it. I look forward to hearing more about your show and for people to change Illinois from the inside.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Appreciate that. Yeah, we need more big bad mamas in the suburbs packing heat. Yes. I'm in agreement. But didn't you do a night at the range night, didn't you, Amy, with the chicks at the range?
Dan, because of insurance purposes, we weren't able to do the
Well, why don't you just, it doesn't have to be formally sponsored. Why don't you just get a bunch of chicks together and go to the gun range?
Yeah, I should do that. I haven't been to the gun range in a while.
Yeah.
Do you know that you can't get
Annie Oakley Club.
You can't get a concealed carry if you have a service animal?
I didn't know that, but maybe you want to dispense with the fraud of the service animal and get a gun.
Hey, Bunky has provided a great service, not only to myself, but to people all over the world. Everybody knows Bunky. There's some people I see in a flight like, oh, my God, how's Bunky? And if a flight's delayed, I'll just walk her down the aisle, and she just relaxes everybody. And I'm telling you.
I understand, but when it comes to protection of your person or your home, I don't think Bunky is, from what I've seen of Bunky, I don't think Bunky is near the answer that, say, a 9mm is. I'm just saying.
She'd try to lick them first, like, oh, hey, do you have treats for me?
Yeah. That is not the most imposing hound I've ever seen. And, Lakeview is not exactly Mayberry these days.
No, it's not.
Chuck from Delavan, round us out into the holiday.
Thanks to your sponsor for mentioning my garage band, Kinda Karen's. And I never have watched Pornhub, just to let you know. I am thankful to both of you for letting me close your show for 4 years. I am actually a celebrity up here in Delavan. We got going on tonight over at the TJ's in the Drink. Bill Calkins is going to be singing from 8 till 11. And then tomorrow, Papa Blues Fruit, I'm in a murder mystery. I am Tingle the Elf. And they're actually going
to... Did you say your name is Tingle?
My name is Tingle the Elf. And I'm in charge of making all the toys. And they're going to... And then you have to guess who murders... I think Santa Claus is going to get murdered. I don't know for sure. But it's going to be really exciting.
Thanks.
Yeah. So anyway,
happy Thanksgiving, Chuck. Thanks. I think Tingle the Elf is also on Pornhub.
Hey-oh. Way to wrap it all together. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. It is now 9 a.m. Happy Thanksgiving, WIND Chicago.
It's day one.